What is up, everybody? Spidey here, and as always, I hope you're having a marvelous day. Welcome to episode 33, live here with my friend, the 9.9 Newsstand. Manu, what's up?
Hello, everybody. I'm well. How are you, my world traveling friend? How is
Yeah, well,
everything?
I was in a totally different location last time we recorded this episode. I was
Yeah,
hiding out in a big conference room at the Hilton in New York. So
we made it work. I mean, I was struggling a bit, but I kind of showed up, made
I
it work a
wanted
little
to
bit.
tell you, good job like handling things in the background
Aw,
for me because
I,
I was
I, I
certainly
really,
struggling.
I appreciate it. I was a nervous wreck. I was sweating. I was embarrassed while it was happening and after,
Well,
but I'm glad that it worked out.
we had a good time. That was really cool of Mr. Ash Gonzalez to give out some. I mean, he gave out some money the other
He
night with those
act,
sketches.
actually he did indeed. Yeah.
Somebody was offering $1,500 in the chat for one of them.
I, I
So
wonder if that actually happened.
I don't know. Jojo, you were first. I can attest to
Yes.
that.
Jojo Jimby, good
Yeah.
evening.
Stacking 9mm. How's it going? Good to see you.
Stacking, what's up? We were actually in the chat for a different stream. Whose was that? Were we in Neo's chat stacking? I think so. I don't
Oh,
remember, but I think so. Nice to hang out with
our
you
friends are
outside of
everywhere.
this stream as well. Yeah.
Cardboardology. How's it going? Yep. Let's
What's
get
up, my
marvelous.
man?
Soul Collectibles. Hello. How are you?
Yo, my guy.
Mr. Collector 123. And we got Chris here. Good evening, you fine people. Looking forward to the old fire. Whoa,
Bad
tell by the
wizard.
fireside. My dyslexia kicked in.
Oh,
I'll go straight to the end and into the middle. What is this? We got a square. How
hand
did you
four
do that?
letters. It's a gnarly emoji. I don't really know what it is. It's a pink I'm not sure exactly what it is,
Oh,
but
so
it's
you can
there.
see it, but can you see what it is on my screen?
It's a square on your screen.
Just
Yeah.
a square.
Very interesting. Must have something to do with our browsers. But also after that, he says, "What's up, 9.9?" And Spidey, hello, my friend. And four
Hmm.
letters, how are you?
Yeah, we'll say hello to a couple more people, and I know people want to get right into the talk. So we'll get into the talk.
Yeah.
Garrett's here. What's up, Garrett? How's it going?
Yo.
Steve Dog, CC. What is that comic books in his thumbnail?
Where is
Oh,
it?
let me put it
Oh,
back
I
up.
don't
Let me
know.
put it back up.
Let's see. Look, maybe no. Maybe. I gotta get a closer look. Maybe so.
Ah, Edenfield Band says, so who else is annoyed by not having MM 2022 info? Yeah.
Me.
I guess it's not
Me.
annoyance to me.
Yeah,
I
maybe not
probably,
that word, but I want it and I'm mad that I don't have it. Like it's a little frustrating or something. I don't know.
yeah, I guess I've kind of moved towards like apathy.
Wait, apathy is not empathy. Apathy is what
Like,
exactly?
I don't know that I care. Like, I just
Oh,
don't expect, like, I put so much energy in like the news or non-news from Spider-Man Metal,
mm-hmm.
and then, those
Mm-hmm.
things didn't really happen. So I've kinda, like,
Yeah.
lost that, I don't know, like, seeking it
Yeah.
out. Where's it at? And get the information. Like, I've kinda lost some of that and fallen more into it'll happen when it happens kinda thing.
Yeah. That's kind of unfortunate, right? Like
Mhm.
certain companies could have kept that energy going. They certainly could have. So
Yeah, yeah. We're gonna get into some hobby talk tonight, but
yeah.
that's in the realm of
Yeah.
it, like, what is it doing to the collecting space there? So but hey, just to
What's
answer,
DO6 saying? He
I have
said, Do
no
you know
news.
what day it is?
I will say
Oh,
this, I do know the artist is a guy, not a girl.
we know that?
Mhm, confirmed.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That doesn't I guess that means that's kind of disappointing then because that means
Yes.
we know it's not Peach.
We know it's not Peach, and I was kinda
Yeah.
hoping, like, for a female artist secretly, like, I was kind of is there a female artist, like, that's up and coming that really could be spotlighted here and
Right.
maybe we don't know them, but we their art is amazing and we get to know them and it's, like, sets them up on a platform, like, I was
Yeah.
kinda thinking some of that, but,
Yeah.
actually, no, it's not. It's gonna be a guy. So,
All right. What did DO6 said, do you know what day it is today? It's Justin and Manu Tuesday, episode 33.
30
Let's go.
33 weeks,
That's
man.
awesome.
A lot of
Yeah.
marriages don't last 33 weeks.
Right. Right. Exactly right. Exactly. Wow.
JoJo's been
How
here
crazy.
forever. Lonzo, everybody. Hey, what's up, my friend?
Alonzo, what up?
Starting to put up videos on his YouTube channel.
Yeah,
I love it.
exactly. Yeah.
Did you know he's like doing some art as well?
Who,
Yeah.
Alonzo? Yeah, I didn't know that. He actually slid like some artwork into my DM a few weeks ago, and I was like, bro, that's sick. And I've only seen like two other works of his since then,
Yeah.
but that was my first time. I had no idea that he created. So that was really dope.
Yeah, that was a moment last week. I think Cardboard won something. Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, Cardboard did win. Which one did he win? I don't remember what sketch he won, but
I
he won
can't.
something. Yeah,
I can't remember.
I don't either.
I think he may have won Black Cat or Spidey. But anyways, Card and Comic Freak, how's it going, my friend? We got two
Oh, what's
Stevie
going
Ray.
on, my man? How are you? Good to see you. Good to see you. Hope you're having a
Inches
good
Lord
night.
loves Tuesdays.
Eh, My man.
Constantine, what's up, my friend?
What's going on?
Marvelous Packs. I know we're doing a lot of hellos, but I do want to get to everybody. The future of collecting
Yeah.
will be digital / hybrid or phygital. Is that a new word? I don't think that's a typo.
No, that's a typo.
I think he meant
Oh no, Fid's digital,
physical
like physical
digital.
digital. So he's talking like the
Phygital.
vaulting and
Digital.
phygital. Phygital.
Digital. Digital.
Yeah, yeah. E40 came up with that one.
That is a new one. I have not heard that one. Where we will open packs of cards that will also reward us with utility. Yeah, I'm kind of intrigued by this. Like, so, in Marvelous Packs, and I've had these conversations. I've had them with Sketch Card Hive early in our relationship together, which was this thought of like, what if in the metaverse, like with goggles on, or like an Oculus or
Yeah,
glasses or Google glasses or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
we put them on and we're having this type of conversation, but it's in a meta room together. Like we're in
Fair
a room
enough.
together. And in that room, I could go like, hey, I want to buy a pack of cards, pack,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then open them digitally and then have them shipped home, or I can trade them right there on that platform.
Absolutely. And what Marvelous Packs here is saying about utility and stuff, like let's say, for instance, we are in two virtual environments right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is my virtual environment. And let's say this is not a physical painting, but an NFT, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's on the wall of one of my virtual spaces. And let's say, for instance, it just had a price because it was a limited NFT or something, I could sell it. But if it had a utility, perhaps I might be the only person that could. Maybe the utility is only unlocked once, and when this digital piece gets transferred in terms of ownership, maybe the utility doesn't go, or maybe it unlocks another utility. All of these things can be so interesting because you get to program these smart contracts to do whatever you want within on the blockchain, and so
Mm-hmm.
uh, it's going to be a really interesting space to see how something you collect can have a physical consequence, right? Like maybe you have
Mm-hmm.
permission to go to an autograph signing, or you're first in line at a release of a something.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that can happen. The possibilities are pretty endless.
Yeah. No, and I think I don't know everything that's going on in the world with FTX and all that kind of stuff. Is it
Right, right.
FTX? Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah,
I don't
it,
even
it,
know.
it is FTX. It is obviously putting a damper on the entire crypto space at the moment, and other
But
things
those
are
things can
collapsing
be
as a
really
result.
healthy in the long run.
I think they are really healthy in the long run. It's just like any environment, right? Excitement comes in, enthusiasm peaks, people blindly buy
Yeah.
whatever, criminals and crooks come in, they steal what they can. The playing field gets leveled, and then you see what's real, and then it has a
Mhm,
chance to build up again. Because the technology, it's the truth. It's revolutionary.
mhm.
Blockchain technology is not going anywhere. We're just figuring out what to develop on top of it. What are the real
Yeah,
world use cases, and who are the trusted players? And that takes decades sometimes to sort out.
it
And we're
does.
kind of
That
in
environment
decade
has
one.
to fill itself out. I mean, think about Mount St. Helen when it erupted. I mean, it turned
Okay.
it into a wasteland of lava and
Mm.
ash, but it
Mm,
also transformed it into like a really healthy environment rather quickly.
there you
So
go.
what is like, oh man, this is like really destructive, actually had some oddly enough positive impacts down the road.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
and
this need to blow up a little bit.
yeah, and not to say that. I mean, regulation is like a necessary evil. Well, some would
Mhm.
look at it as a necessary evil,
Hey,
but when
yeah, sorry, go
you
ahead.
know, and when something like this happens, people that don't like losing money, that have a bit of importance and some, they got a little bit of pull, they lose millions. Regulation comes in quite quickly after this, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, we don't want to or be a part of like stymieing ingenuity, creativity, imagination, capitalism, entrepreneurism with
Yeah.
regulations that favor one side over another. But at the
Right.
same time, people are rather wicked and self-destructive, and they'll take a good
Yeah.
thing and make it bad. And
Yeah.
regulation has a way of like giving us some boundaries to really to navigate in. So, and
Yeah.
ultimately, hopefully, to protect those who can't protect themselves. Really.
Yeah. And it really is interesting in the context of crypto, though, because crypto is brought to us with the proposition of decentralization, owning our financial future and current state. So regulation kind of muddies that, but if people are going to lose a $30 billion because of a company, maybe it is necessary. It's an ongoing thing. We'll talk about it more for sure.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to turn this into an NFT discussion, but there is that
Right.
is something that's in the hobby. And look, I own two
Yeah.
NFTs. That's it. Don't think I'm. I have no crypto. I have no Dogecoin. Like I'm just, I'm a little
Let me
guy
let
and
me
all
tell you,
that good stuff.
Justin, if Bitcoin gets below 8,000, sell one of those shiny cards and grab you one.
Yeah, actually, I was looking at the $17,000 mark.
Sure,
I don't know where's it
sure.
at right now.
I don't know. I don't watch it every second. Those
I don't
days for
either.
me are over.
But it
So I'm
just
not
wasn't getting
sure.
below 19,000. 17,000 is just a number I had picked in my mind months ago.
Yeah.
But I haven't looked at where it's at right now, but
I think it's between 15 and 17 somewhere. And
okay.
that's off of a high of 64. So
I think I think and this is part of the collectible conversation. I think anything you can buy oh lord, how do I say this? That's too broad of a brush. If you're buying something that's really expensive, you probably wanna look at what it sold for in 2019.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what
I
I'm
like
trying to
that.
say. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that should or shouldn't determine your buying decision, but it should be a part of your thought process on whether or not you should buy it. Because if it's not at 2019 prices right now, there's a chance
Maybe
it's
it could
not as
go
low
down
as
some
it's gonna
more.
go. Yeah.
There's a possibility for sure. And most things have gone to pre-pandemic prices, most things. So if they haven't, they can still get there. I mean, listen, there's no shortage of money for people to pull off the table still. There's
Well,
there's a lot of money people can take
that's the
away
point.
still.
The money didn't disappear.
No,
Like, the money's not gone. People are seeing
in
opportunities in
FTX's
other
case, it
places.
might be gone.
Well, yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna get into all the economics, but
Yeah,
the money that was put into the ecosystem economically still very much out there, but people are seeing other opportunities right now, and
yeah.
they're putting the money where they put it. And I have completely lost the chat. I know I have.
Well, one Jojo Yojimbi said people telling you to buy crypto now are the same ones that were telling folks to buy Beanie Babies in 1996. Now, I want to say that's hilarious. Also, I didn't say just buy Bitcoin right now. I said if it dips another 50%, you might consider it. But
Oh,
also, and historically, that was Beanie Babies. Yeah, I do believe it's below 17. That was Beanie Babies'
okay.
first time in and first time out. This isn't crypto's first big dip, though. Like you see 2017 bitcoin goes from about $1,000 up to 20 and then collapses back to 3,000. That same analogy could have been used then, but if you did buy then, you did extremely well because it went from that below 10,000 to 60. Now timing your sale is where you see if you were successful or not, but even if you
Uh,
bought it 3 grand, you're still 5 times that today.
it's funny, and this to me isn't really part of the hobby talk, but I love what you just said. People ask me all the time, particularly in real estate, not in collecting. Um, you know, is this a good deal? It's a good deal depending on how you got in it and when you exit.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That if like in real estate right now, if you buy real estate and you think it's a short-term hold, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
You're going to lose. But if you
Yeah.
buy real estate and you're like, "Hey, I'm going to hold it for 10 years," I mean, history shows if you leave, especially if you leave it better than you found it, like you can do
Hmm.
okay. I mean, you could have bought real estate in California in 2006, 2007 at its peak. then it crashed, and then if you just sold it last year, you're pretty wealthy.
Yeah, you were way up above wherever it was prior to the first crash or the previous one.
It's when you exit. And so,
Yeah.
there are exceptions. I mean, like the by the way, I hate Beanie Babies. I hated them as a kid. I hate them now. I didn't understand it. Like you shrunk down a teddy bear. I didn't want that anyways.
Don't make me pull out my most special one. I
Oh,
have one that I really love.
wait a minute. You just said
Yeah.
you'll share your Beanie Baby, but you didn't share your Marvel card opening with us?
I don't have to rip the Beanie Baby out of a package with cameras and focus and all of this. Oh, we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that, but just broke it to the chat, those who don't know. But I
Oh
mean,
yeah, that's funny.
so I was thinking about this today. What was the first thing historically that people collected? Dawn
Whoa.
of time, time's moving forward. When did somebody go, huh, I'm going to keep that and treasure it and cherish it rather than throw it away?
What a question.
Yeah. What do you think it was?
It must have been sentimental because the emotion existed before things. So what was sentimental along they
Rocks? We
collected
got
rocks.
rocks,
Yeah. They did. They certainly
hogs,
did.
we
The
got
rarer ones,
pogs, stamps,
weapons. Sorry.
the teeth
Sharp
of
rocks.
their
There you go.
enemy.
Tulips. Nice one. I see where Richard's going
Hey,
with
I know the
this.
tulips. We'll talk about tulips in a minute. Your boogers. What was that? Come on, guys. The
Who said
enemy's
that?
heads. But
Destructive. What up?
this
West Coast. What up?
this kind of led me into a question of stop, Jojo. I said the first ever collectible. This kind of led me into like the psychology of collecting, like what's behind psychologically collecting. And dude, that's kind of a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Do you
Are you there? The last word you said?
That's
Yeah.
kind of a rabbit hole. Yeah, you broke up just a little bit on me, but yeah, coins, I bet coins was an early one. Land, I don't think you can consider land as a collectible. That's not, to me, that's not in the same vein. Adam and Eve apples. I think they were done after that first one, to be honest with you.
You know what's interesting about that question, the psychology of collecting,
Mm-hmm.
is purpose is a word that keeps playing in my head. Even if
Purpose.
it isn't, yeah, it's a self-prescribed purpose. And you could assume for a lot of people, purpose is the purpose. You find your purpose, whatever that might be, and now you've got one. And that could be a big part of collecting. It seems to make sense in my mind.
Well, I'm with you. I think purpose has a lot to do with it, and how people get that purpose. Again, the psychology behind it is interesting. Did you know there's a Wikipedia page dedicated to it?
I did not.
Well, now you do.
Now
'Cause
it's here.
this was fascinating. I typed this up right before the show.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting people to be able to read this, but here's some interesting facts according to Wikipedia, which I know is not always, like factual. Okay. So this is just something to spur conversation, right? It says collecting is known to be a common behavior. One estimates that 40% of the United States household engage in some form of collecting behavior. 40% is a lot for a diverse demographic.
Hmm. Agreed.
Don't you agree? They go on to
Yeah.
say that globally it's 30% with variances between countries.
So
That's
that
still
means
a
in
lot.
some countries, yeah, but in some countries they got a couple more important things to worry about and they're
Yeah,
not
like
collecting
where
them.
what am I going to eat? What am I going to
Yeah.
drink? You know,
Right.
like yeah,
Precisely.
I
Yeah.
mean there's not time to do anything but survive.
Yeah.
So with that being at play, like that's actually 30% is actually a huge number. So I don't want to read live, some people get really nervous when they read live. But I don't want to read all this, but this says, although collections often include physical objects, marketing and research theorists theorize that collections may be in the pursuit of something less tangible, such as an
Hmm.
experience, an
Yeah.
idea, or a feeling.
Yeah.
I say on the channel all the time that I collect for moments and memories.
Exactly. You do say that's exactly
Uh,
what they've said here.
yeah. This
Mhm.
forms the foundation for applying theories of consumerism and materialism, which uh which I don't know what this word is, posits some intrinsic value separate from the monetary value, such as a luxury, a passion, spirituality, solidarity, or nostalgia that motivates consumer behavior. Now we know passion, we know nostalgia, but luxury, solidarity, uh, spirituality like that we don't talk much about. But I
Mhm.
can see where solidarity, if they mean that like in the form of one community, like
Right.
gathering around a common element, I can see that.
Yeah.
The social environment in which collecting occurs may also lead to competition over acquiring objects. We certainly see that.
Oh,
Look at mine.
yeah.
It's better than yours. Mine's got a higher
Yeah.
grade. Mine's in better conditions. Mine's worth more,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, and cooperation in the form of sharing knowledge. We go live every Tuesday,
I
sharing
love it.
knowledge about objects,
Yeah.
which, which according to the theory, motivates researching, cataloging, displaying, and admiring collections. Motives are not mutually exclusive, and different motives may combine or intersect for different collectors. We obviously know that's true.
Yeah.
One values one thing, like maybe nostalgia, and another values categorizing and curating more than another.
Yeah.
Like we know that.
Yeah.
Since these motives are not restrictive to a particular stage of life, collecting is sometimes considered a lifelong pursuit. Love this last part, which can never be fully completed.
Mm. Yeah.
It can't. So,
Yeah.
virtual forms of collecting are diverse and can vary from collectible objects such as equipment, characters, vehicles, mounts, or less material possessions such as skins or achievements like in a video game, right? Currencies and objects valued primarily for their rarity, memorabil- memorability, or market value. These virtual collections may have effects on game mechanics or be acquired to reflect the personality of the player through appearance. I think they're talking about online gaming types of things because there are ecosystems inside some games where you collect. The scope of collecting behavior in academia is difficult to define due to this large scope and many functions. It can include physical and virtual objects along with intangible objects such as collecting jokes or proverbs. I don't do either one of those. This difficulty is illustrated by the following quote. At some point in the process, the objects have to be deliberately viewed by the owner or potential owner as a collection. And this implies intentional selection, acquisition, and disposal. It also means that some kind of specific value is set upon the group by its possessor. And with the recognition of value comes the giving of a part of self identity. That's really interesting to me. But collecting is too complex and too human an activity to be dealt with sum- summarily by the way of definition. So you can't really just define
No,
it.
I agree.
Now, I'm not going to go into this part here. I know I've already said a lot that we probably want to respond to, but it compares it to hoarding, and there's a reason for that. And he goes on to talk about basically it's just like being addicted to gambling, drugs, or sex. It's like putting a coin into a slot machine. It might not pay off this time. So you put another quarter in and you keep going until you're tapped out or you finally hit the jackpot. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
But this is the part where it gets really weird. Okay.
Okay, before that happens, I want to say something.
Yeah, I
I
know. I said a lot.
no, but just tying back to what the first things people might have collected were, like, people used to kill everything they had to eat. I would assume like the teeth of the animals, like that would have been pride in collecting. Like, look what
Yeah,
I took down. Look at the claws of this bear. Ah, that's my answer. Okay, carrying on.
I agree. Teeth of your enemy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is where it gets interesting when it gets into the psychoanalytic theory of collecting. You know who Freud is, right? The great uh, psychologist,
Y-
Freudianism or Freudian.
Yeah, but I don't even know what I know what a Freudian slip is, what you intend to say. So I know that things come from him, but I have no idea who he is.
Yeah, he was a German a German psychologist. A lot of the foundational beliefs in psychology is rooted from his theories.
Okay.
But he's kind of weird because he basically attributes most psychological conditions to the fact that I can't even say this on camera. Okay. I just can't say it. It
Okay.
basically has to do with the formation of sexual behaviors at a young age and how the parents are involved. Long story
Okay.
short. But he's
Okay.
highly regarded. Whether I regard him that is not the question. I'm just bringing him up here because of what he says about collecting. Okay. Early
Okay.
theories begin in the early and mid 1900s based on both theories of psychosexual development and drive theory, like, what gives you drive. Freud suggests that the idea of collecting stems from toilet training behavior.
I'm going to need a little bit more to connect those dots.
I'm
I don't
not,
know if I want
I
those
went
dots to
on to
be
read
connected.
what it means, and I'm not going to talk about it live. This explains a lot of the collectors we have to deal with.
Does this explain a lot of the poop that people collect?
That's what it says on Wikipedia down at the bottom. Read it for yourself, and it gives you a little blue highlight, and you can get into what is toilet training and how that impacts what he believes it develops into a collecting theory. But
Interesting stuff.
anyways, there's a whole psychology to collecting. I'm not saying I have the answer. I was just reading in preparation for tonight's show. And
Zen said, I guess I'm still toilet training.
okay, so hey, so Charles actually brings up a really interesting point.
What do you
Really,
say?
really interesting point. If you keep digging into the psychology of collecting, many people attribute it to brain damage.
That's extreme.
I'm just telling you what it says. I'm not co-signing any of this. I just read it tonight, and there is there's a, hey, look, like your cortical what's this word I'm trying to think of, frontal cortex is
Frontal
yeah, could be
cortex.
slightly damaged, right? And that could lead to a collecting behavior, which could be somewhat obsessive compulsive, which means you want to have it a particular way, in a certain way. Or the other side of it, which is the fact that it can be a hoarding mentality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally hoarding. And I kind of, again, I'm thinking through all this because, we could get in here and we'd be like, well, the hobby's this and the hobby's that, and people are this and
Yeah.
people are that, and never really deal with the deep underlying issue or issues, which is it's deeper than just what you like and love and what you don't like and love.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, the fact that the people are generally dissatisfied, they're generally not satisfied, and they're looking for satisfaction. And they
I'm very
collect.
surprised that it's you saying that and not me. That's not the sort of thing that you typically say, but please carry on because I absolutely agree.
Yeah, so people are, generally dissatisfied, so they're looking to be satisfied in some form or fashion, and collecting can be a way to try to get that. And when it doesn't meet that need, then we come out and we're like, well, this is wrong, and this is wrong, and this should be this, and this should be that, and this, instead of really dealing with the real issue, which is you're just not satisfied. And it wasn't ever going to
Yeah.
satisfy you anyways.
Yeah, and it's just a perception of it, and it ties back into that first word that I said, purpose, right? So because you will feel deeply connected to your purpose, and if someone tells you your purpose is wrong, you're gonna get upset about it. Kind of,
Oh,
there you go.
1,000%.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I've been there. It's like, hey, I was just telling you what I liked, and you kind of went off on me because it's not what you like, right? And so, anyways, so I just think that it's important to really think about why it is you want to collect, or what you want to not collect, and what it may be attached to, in this space. So didn't see the conversation going there tonight, but here we are.
I'd like I No, but it makes perfect sense. We're talking about collecting, we're talking about the psychology of it. And you know
Hmm.
what? Relating back to this, I might have brought this up. I don't remember. I was talking to a friend of mine, Alex, and we were talking about certain nuances and something that we were getting crazy trying to find, right? And we could just relate this to, a newsstand issue of a book costing 5 times more than its direct.
Hmm.
And the question was it was like, Manu, isn't it was rhetorical. Like, Manu, isn't this silly? We make a fuss off of a barcode. And I said to him, I said, dude, if you strip this thing down, it's all silly. It's all pointless. Like, we've given purpose to whatever we choose to. It's all just stuff. Like, it's not anything, anything,
Yes.
you know?
It, and I mean, I want to stay healthy in the hobby. And for me, for Justin, to stay healthy in the hobby, I have to be willing to examine why I'm even in it.
Yeah.
Like, what has me here? What has me wanting to enjoy and appreciate and fill up a binder and pay hundreds, thousands of dollars for a card when I could, buy a bond to go buy a piece of land instead, or, stick it in just a interest bearing savings account for my kid. Like, what has me here?
Yeah.
And make sure that it doesn't get to the place that is unhealthy.
Can you define what would be an unhealthy place for you, or would you be aware if you got there?
Well, I want to be an examination of it. I want to think through it. People are using the word boundaries here. I really like that word boundaries. Another word for me is
Mhm.
margin. If you, Manu, you're well educated. When you were in elementary school, your teacher said, "Hey, you need to write. When you're writing, you need to stay in the margin,
Yeah. Right.
or no, you need to stay inside the margin." However, the right way to say it
Right.
is.
Yeah. Stay within the margins. Yeah.
Because if you went outside the margin, what happens? It gets messy.
Exactly. Yeah.
It gets messy. So your teacher taught you how to do like word breaks, like, but teacher, the word's too long. It has to go over the margin. Well, no, you can break it and put a hyphen and drop it down. Does that make sense? Or are you frozen?
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
And so
No, I'm,
you
I'm with
wouldn't.
you though. I
So
hear you though.
like for me, I need to figure out for me what is the margin, what's the boundary, what does that look like? And I was thinking about you today. Actually, I was like, man, this guy,
Mm.
he has a great eye for um what I don't want to say what really is collectible, but it I'm inspired by your version of what is collectible. Does
Oh,
that
well,
make
well,
sense?
thank you. It does. Yeah. I appreciate it.
And at the same time, you're still willing to sell it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that's really healthy.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I love that you can go, man, this is great. This is special. I love everything about it. And for you, you can buy it for this amount.
Yeah. I actually don't want to sell anything that I don't feel deeply passionate about. Like, it's still, that's part of my thing.
And so it occurs to me, I could be wrong, but it just occurs to me, it's like, hey, that's how he's staying healthy in the hobby. Because if you were like, I got to have all of them and I got to keep them to myself, what happens then? Then you go, I'm making this up. You tell me where I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but then you go get a job you hate to
Yeah.
buy the thing you love so you can just keep it to yourself.
Yeah. I'm not that
And
person. No.
no, no. And so,
No.
what is that for me? What is that? What does it mean for me to examine? I love, I'm kind of like the definition that was being given there, moments and memories. Like collecting has created this between you and me.
It has.
I'm
It has.
like, I'm thrilled with that. I
Yeah.
love so maybe the solidarity is a part for me. And so if I ever become isolated in this space, then that's probably unhealthy for me.
Right. Why would you come into a collecting community and then, you know,
Mhm.
paint yourself into a corner where you think
Yeah.
everyone's against you and you're alone? Well, that's not what this is about. Who are you
Mm-mm.
going to share with in the dark? You
No,
know,
I don't want
like,
to do that.
Eddie, thank you.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
hey, Eddie, you are so kind. Thank you, man. I appreciate
There's
that.
there's actually a dancing headband wearing bird chicken thing that doesn't show up here, but it's in the chat.
I just see super stickers. So I have to go back and watch the replay to see that. That's awesome. So
West Coast said it's why I befriended Manu. It was all about Wizard because that's what he loves. Brought us
telling you.
together.
So I think, thinking through what that means, I do have a desire to sell things regularly. That's one of the measures. I've excuse me, I've chosen to only have collections in my study and my hobby room. It can't go outside of that. If I can't fit it here, like it can't be in here. Uh, if anyone walked into this room, they would be like, a little bit of a hoarder thing going on here. You can't have every Marvel Legend ever made and not look like a hoarder. So
Well, the action figures don't quite stack and arrange as neatly as a card or a book. right? They're
They do
different,
not, and I like to
right?
open them and pose them and those type of things. So,
Exactly. They are different in their dimensionality for sure.
mhm, mhm. So I don't know, like, what that has you thinking about in terms of, like, so the state of the hobby, but where it has me is again, I've only been in this space in a significant way in early 2021, January, February. Now Marvel Legends collecting, that goes back to like 2017. So maybe I've been in this space a little longer than I'm saying here. But
Hmm.
in the community, thinking through this kind of stuff, like really since February 2021. And kind of what I'm seeing right now is there's a lot of disgust in the hobby. Like
Yeah, there's a lot. Hmm.
every thumbnail's like crap this, terrible that, you know, these companies don't care about us, blah, 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 blah. Like, and I'm not saying blah, blah, like it's not important
Like
what they're saying.
dismissing what they're saying. There's just a
No,
lot of things being said.
it's
Yeah,
just a lot of things being said, and it's generally pretty much at the, on the spectrum of dissatisfied right now.
it very much is. And there's a lot of good conversation to come from that because it has a
Mhm.
lot to do with people's purpose being attacked.
Yeah. Dre's got a great perspective of it because he sees both sides of the industry. He
Oh
says hobby
yeah,
is a mess. A lot of negativity going around.
it is. It is. And there's a lot of negativity, but the sensitive part about that word for me is the truth is sometimes negative, and I don't want the truth to be put away because it might be negative in context or in connotation. But I don't see a lot of senseless negativity right now. I don't see a lot of people being attacked without reason. I don't see a lot of people just, ignorantly spewing their distaste for things. I legitimately see people telling the uncomfortable truth about some activities and some participants. And
Mhm.
that's actually really nice to see come out of the shadows because somebody articulated it very nicely on YouTube recently. And a lot of people are scared to speak up because they're afraid of who they might offend. And this ties back to the psychology in a lot of other ways, but whose parties they might not get invited to if they offend someone, or who might not answer their phone, or who might have that one collectible that they really think is the most important thing in the world, and they got to stay in that person's good grace should they choose to sell it. Like you strip away all of that senseless stuff, and you can see things for what they are. But
Right.
um, there's a lot of that going on. I think it's really healthy to shed that. And I think a lot of it is being shed. I think a lot of us, the collector, the consumer, if you will, self-respect is coming back. And I've been yelling a lot, collect self-respect, collect something like that for a little while,
Hmm.
instead of putting too much importance on what someone is selling you. And I don't want to right now go off of the rails and talk about, modern releases of things, but this conversation is very important because I think the result of this might be some people sit back when there's a new release and think, wait a second, what am I buying that for? Am I
Hmm.
buying it so I can be one of the people that have it so I don't get left out? But then again, you can enjoy it without having it. Now listen, I had one Spidey Metal hobby box. It's not like I was without, but I enjoyed the opening of 60 or 70 of them because I
Hmm.
watched it with my friends, with my community. I enjoyed it. I participated. I didn't have to spend all of the money. So if it's about involvement and camaraderie, you can get that without buying the book or the card, right? So
Hmm.
there's a lot of dynamic here, a lot of stuff. Derek's with us. Derek, good evening. Hello. He says this is a really nice conversation and some other things, and we'll read those as well. But
Yeah.
I digress. Oh, Do6 is asking for the Beanie Baby. My friend, I will pull the Beanie Baby out after this conversation, transitions to the next. I'll pause the screen. I'll go get my favorite Beanie Baby for us.
Yeah, we'll do that as an example of the hobby
Of,
gone wrong.
of hoarding.
Of hoarding. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, look, I'm gonna go back to Dre's comment here.
Yeah.
There's some truth to that, meaning the the positivity or the positive outcome of some of the negative that's being said,
Mm,
right?
mm, mm,
And he says there's truth to that, but there's also a lot of pent up aggression being spewed at random. And
okay.
I just, again, I'm speaking for me. Like, take Justin and all of his experiences, all of the conversations he's ever had, all of the beliefs that he's come up with. I'm talking in third person, but the
Yeah.
things that make me here now in this conversation. And I I just think it comes because people are just not able to be satisfied through a collectible. There's some satisfying elements in the moment, but it doesn't bring lasting satisfaction. And because it doesn't bring lasting satisfaction, when then the maker of your collectible overprints or lies or does something, it sends you off the rails, right?
That's the problem with putting your self-worth attached to something else, you
It
know?
shouldn't be your
That's
identity. Like, it can,
yeah,
like, I think anybody that knows me, like, knows all of me, would say, hey, part of Justin's identity is he's Spidey and he collects Spider-Man. So I'm not saying that there's not that part of it. What I'm saying is, like, my self-worth doesn't come from whether my collectible is going up or down in value,
right,
or whether or
right,
not it was rare and now it's not.
right.
You gotta part of the thing that makes collecting for me interesting is that it's risky.
Yeah,
That it that you can't just
yeah,
say with a shadow of a doubt, like, this is the thing. It may be, it may not be, and that's part of the element of what it means to collect something, if rarity and value is one of the reasons why you're in it.
yeah, and that ties in with the competitive nature. I always say that I'm not very competitive, but if I look at it that way, I like that, because if I look at it that way, you know, I like to pat myself on the back for what I believe to be my edge, right? Whatever
Right.
skill I have that might give me the advantage, well, I
Mhm.
covet that advantage and I'm proud of it, you know, and it's
Yeah.
kind of cool that those kind of nuances exist within collecting. Not everyone can find the same thing or do the same thing with it. Everyone
Because
has a different skill set.
the reality as I see it is overprinting over here creates rarity over there, which adds to the collectability of things, actually. It just it's
You
so I just
create a relative rarity
you
that
you
way.
do. You
Yeah,
do. And
yeah,
so again, I don't like the idea of it in some degree to some degree. I just think that I don't want to see the people that we're connected to in this space be living in a place of disgust and dissatisfaction and disappointment because of some person that they've never met decided to
right,
overprint something.
right,
I don't want them to
right,
have that kind of control over our friends in the hobby. Like, it can be satisfying. Like, I've been satisfied by having cards. Like, I know the thrills. Literally, I found it came to me like a one of one gold PMG. Like,
yeah,
and then sold it for a lot more than I paid for it. Like, I know
right.
that thrill. It's it's not satisfying. Like, it doesn't last. It's in the moment and then
It's
it
fleeting.
goes.
It's fleeting. But you know
Yeah.
what? I've said that about satisfaction. I actually used to use the word happiness, and I've said this since I remember there was a teacher of mine. I was probably either early teens or, you know, approaching that. And I remember
Mhm.
her being extremely surprised when I said this to her. It was in the front of the classroom. I think class was over, and she and I were talking about something. And something, I don't remember exactly what led to it, but I think something inspired her to ask me, or maybe some concern, I don't remember, about happiness. And I said, sure, I'm happy, but not all the time. I said, happy is a moment and it comes and goes and I look for
Right.
it, but I don't always have it. And she couldn't believe that I said that. And I literally did, probably 9 years old, maybe 11, maybe 13. I don't remember, but young
Mhm.
enough to surprise her. But I've always thought of it that way because happiness is not some constant thing. It's not an overflowing stream of smiles. You look for it, you feel it every now and then. But if you didn't have it, if you don't have it, that's the only reason you recognize it to be amazing when you get a little bit of elation, you know?
Mhm.
Any I think any sensation can wear thin if it's always there, you know. So
Well, happiness is I mean, I want people to be happy. Um, I don't think happiness, like, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I'm like, probably not the best word, actually. Happiness there. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
oh,
Each
oh
man
yeah,
is
yeah,
created equally. But the thing about happiness is it's really to me, like a series of emotions or feelings, and feelings are really useful, but they're not me. They're not me. That's not my identity. They're useful, like a um, if something feels hot, like, that's good for me to know,
right.
but it's not who I am as a person. It's not my self-worth and identity. Um, I actually would rather have joy than happiness. I know we're like parsing words here, like, well, Justin, joy and happiness might mean the
Right.
same thing to me. And I would
Right.
say, like, for me, joy, as I would define it is not necessarily based on a series of circumstances. It's not based on what's going on around me, right?
Mm. Mm.
Like, oh, they overprinted my favorite card, or the ooh, like, oh, it's rare. Like,
Mhm.
those
Mhm.
things make me happy or unhappy. But joy is not predicated on whether or not you do or don't do something for me. Like, I just have it. It's mine, and you can't
Mm.
take it away. And so, like, that's where I would love for our community to be in, is like, hey, this is like actually really marvelous. Like, it's really special, not because of what it is, but what I get to be in it. Like, not what's going on around me, but who I am. And so, anyways, I know we're getting a little deeper in the hobby, but I think the hobby's set on a pretty strong course of self-destruction if it tries to base its satisfaction on what's going on and what the makers of the cards are doing. So,
Well, that's really interesting. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, I think I have probably called it a course like towards self-destruction, and maybe it is that, but there's so many layers, right? But one of the layers to pull back is that collecting brings people. I still, I mean, to me, it's a bit of a struggle to separate happiness from joy, because they
mhm,
are very closely related. But I understand what you're saying. But that's the sort of sentiment that I have to sit with for evenings upon evenings before it settles
mhm,
in and I start to understand what you're already feeling, right? So for me, just using either word loosely interchangeable for what I'm trying to say here
mhm,
is the thing that's unfortunate to me. What's most unfortunate in our hobby is not amongst our community of collectors that I speak with regularly and speak to about anything at all. Like,
mhm.
5 cents, $15, a billion that we can't afford, like whatever.
Right.
We just talk because it's interesting conversation for us. That makes me happy. The things that are sad to me is that, man, this is a weird one because I don't want to make companies sound like, this just evil, purely evil, because they're not. They're comprised of people that are paying their bills and doing things, so on and so forth. But companies know that there is a psychology behind collecting and buying, and that psychology is about
Um,
filling in maybe a lower self-esteem, maybe finding some purpose, like something satisfies us, right? Like something about collecting and hunting and having makes me happy, makes me actually, I know myself pretty well and I'll talk about what it is for me. But generally speaking, companies know that and they prey on it. And
mhm,
that's a really extreme way to put it. And it's not in every situation, but we're in a moment now where it is definitely being preyed on or was. And that's when I have to be like, whoa, guys, hold on. And I think everybody's kind of feeling that way.
mhm.
Some people say the greed has taken over. Well, greed is always the main fuel for a corporation. It's just another word for ambition to make a bunch of money,
Yeah.
like
I
so.
yeah,
Oh, he
I'm
said
with
it.
you.
Someone said it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we got 2 people saying grief.
Oh,
The sorry, my coffee is attacking me tonight. My apologies, but I see the greed buttons here. I think love you too. You know I love you too. So please hear what I'm really about to say. Just calling out greed can, I think, be a lazy way to not deal with why you bought it or didn't buy it.
right. Yeah, there's more to it than just the word. Yeah.
I mean, look, these companies, they're for profit. And trust me, you don't want the governmental authorities coming in saying what is the right amount of profit.
Right.
You don't want that,
Right.
because if you just don't, let's not even
You
go into
want the
that
free
conversation.
market.
You want
Yeah.
the ability to make as much as you can possibly make, because that creates ingenuity, creativity, advancements. Like, it makes the world a better place. Okay.
Hmm.
But, you know, when one of the things I think is important for us to realize is that you have these companies that have access to data. We're talking about the psychology of collecting, and some of that may have sound new to us, even though we're in collecting. They already know it. They already have the information about what makes you want to buy or not buy.
I'm gonna, yeah, listen, but it's just the truth. Like, I didn't, I wasn't so accepting of it because I wasn't so, I'm immersed in the collecting
Mhm,
community now. Everybody that I speak to on a day to day, dozens of people a day, are in the
mhm.
collecting community. So, you know, what people are feeling is being communicated to me. And it's like people are susceptible to being taken advantage of on a psychological level by a marketing campaign funded by a company that has an objective to sell a product
Mhm.
to a community of people that they know beyond a shadow of a doubt majority of are not thinking with their own head but with what advertisement or what headline or what excitement has been created. Now that's just business. That is not something to be taken personally. Why have I taken it personally? Well, I've never been immersed in a community before.
Mm.
It's very personal.
Yeah,
And
because
I
you
don't
care for
care.
people.
I, I mean, it's my life. It is what I'm communicating and dealing with day in and day out. How is
Mhm.
it not personal? Because it's about dollars to someone else? It's still personal to us. I
Right.
don't, the whole it's business, not personal for them,
Mhm.
but it's very personal for us. That's what the wiki page said in a million words. It just
In a
said it's
million words.
personal.
Yeah.
Yeah. All it said was it's personal. And it
Mhm.
is. Now, I don't think us as a collecting community are going to be destroyed. I think the business might be reshaped and it might be silent for a while,
Mhm.
but collectors aren't going anywhere. We're still going to be collecting stuff. We're still going to be looking for what we want. We're still going to be, instead of talking to 1,000 people a day, maybe we talk to 200 people a day.
Right.
The community's still there. And then over time, companies will figure out what they're going to do and slowly, more products will come out. People will forget that they got burned. They'll buy, and the cycle might just repeat itself.
Mhm.
Um, Hasbro is a great example. I'd love to, jump into
Yeah,
that, but
let's
that's a
let's,
phenomenal
can you wanna
example.
set the stage for, or you want me to set the stage for Hasbro? What's
I'll
happening?
go. Yeah, I'll go.
Go
I
ahead.
might be a little wrong, but the idea is the same. So we know Wizards of the Coast. You informed me, not Wizards of Magic. Wizards of the Coast is the
Yeah.
company owned by Hasbro that releases all of the Magic products, and there's so many Magic products. There's
Mhm.
reprints of traditional sets that people love, so on and so forth,
Mhm.
that are valued kind of interestingly because they are reprints. But in any case. Um, Magic has had tremendous success and the community has been growing for decades, right?
30
It's
years.
30 years. It's quite incredible. Hasbro owns that company. Hasbro owns a bunch of stuff as well. The Marvel
Marvel
Legends that you,
Legends.
there you go,
Yeah.
right? And so they have been releasing set after set, new release after new release, and things have been selling out. But market conditions have changed. Things have slowed down, but Hasbro hasn't. They're
Mm.
still releasing a lot of expensive things at the same rate that they were when the market was growing. Carry on,
Yeah.
please.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm with you, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
And
I
so
in my
the
brain,
writing
like,
was, oh,
I'm
yeah.
I'm thinking about what goes on. Like, I actually am on some stockholder, like, quarterly meetings, and I'm just
Okay.
imagining what that's like for Hasbro when they go, "Hey, Hasbro, 30% of your company's profit is made up of Wizards of the Coast. How are
Yeah.
we growing market share and profitability there for our stockholders? We gotta sell
Release.
more."
Yeah. Just make more stuff. But,
Yeah.
back to psychology, you will exhaust your consumer base. You will eventually do that. People
But
can't
they
buy
judge it based on
everything.
the quarter. They don't judge it based on longevity.
Yeah, I know. And that's what, like, that's why I think this stuff, that's the
But
business
that's
though.
always what makes it collectible.
What?
That's also what makes it collectible.
That they base it on a quarterly
No, it's the fact that things cannot be rare. The things that
makes some stuff rare.
yes.
Yeah, but people were buying all the magic stuff
Now,
because of the fuzzy feeling they get.
if they're being misled, if it's false advertising, that's not what I'm talking about.
No, and
Okay.
it's not like the company's holding your hand and making your, withdrawing from the ATM machine and then taking you to the website. They're not doing that.
Mhm.
But there was an interesting ecosystem of emotion and influence and stuff
Mhm.
created in the last 10 years that is all coming to a head right now. And it's quite necessary. Just like FTX was necessary, so are these conversations right now today. There are
Mhm.
too many people that have gotten away with too much stuff. And I don't mean the companies that we love and respect. I mean individuals that are in positions to move the needle as well.
Mhm.
Some funky stuff has gone on. It's undeniable. It's not like we're just making
Yep.
stuff up. We're not even directly saying anything. We're just saying, obviously, there was a little bit of funny stuff happening. It always is.
Mhm.
Um, it's just really healthy to have this conversation. Every time that I'm speaking to any of my friends, oh, sorry, back to the Hasbro thing. Anyway, there was this really expensive product coming out. They were making 50,000 cases of it. Rudy from Alpha Investments, he's one of the main, people on YouTube that always talks about magic. He's got millions invested into this stuff. He's a seller collector. He has been for decades.
Mhm.
And even he was like, I can't believe that, Wizards of the Coast, well, Hasbro is doing this to us at a time like this. The last thing we need are for you to overprint things. People are not buying right now. People have less money. You're collapsing the value of all of these things that we like. And there's an interesting discussion on both sides where some people like the increased manufacturing because it reduces costs because they just want to collect to have. But some people are concerned with the long-term value and they're like, stop overprinting. But both of those belief systems were supporting what's
Mhm.
happening at the moment. And so Magic just had this product dropped yesterday, I believe it was. And
Mhm.
at the 30-minute mark, it was said to be sold out. Now, there's a lot of suspicion that it wasn't sold out, right? And so we'll
Yeah.
have to wait and see what happens. And we'll see in a couple of months or however long they take to deliver their product. I think these products are already printed, just takes a while to get delivered. We'll see what it's like when they start to trade on the open market and how much availability there actually is. But I think it's a great eye opener for Hasbro, a great eye opener for collectors in general to not blindly trust the companies or not expect the companies to care all that much. Protect yourself, protect your emotions, protect your investments, protect your hobby by being just a little bit more thoughtful about what you're doing and more true to your heart than anything else, quite possibly. And if you have a history of not speculating well or not, placing the right bets, well, learn from that. Realize that maybe you're not a speculative collector. And if you are, just enjoy the fact that you might lose some money. It's nothing more than just gambling and you're not really putting that much math into it. You're just
Mhm.
kind of throwing darts. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine as well. But the companies aren't going to make it any easier for us if that was the goal. Rudy is the number one abuser. What is it?
Yeah.
As
So,
someone
hey,
that sells magic
I
most,
want to set this.
okay,
I want to set this comment up. So Keith Boyle
okay.
is a friend. I'm calling him a friend. I hope he thinks the
Hi,
same
Keith.
thing. Keith is a friend. He's not just a collector. He lives in this industry. He owns a comic book store. He's been in it for a long time. He is a very astute and well thought of and intelligent collector in this space. So when he says something like, I really perk up and listen. And he says, as someone who sells magic, most information being retold is by those who are trying to manipulate the market. Rudy is the number one abuser. And I, I don't know enough to like say yes he's right or yes he's wrong. I know who he is, and I don't think Keith would say this without having some basis of information for it.
Yeah.
But and this is another part of the hobby conversation that I think is useful right now is the word agendas. It's the
Hmm.
word agendas.
Yeah.
And we all have an agenda. I
Hmm.
remember early in my adult life, like I started really branching out in relationships and connecting with people. And like I had an underlying agenda to in these conversations. And I thought, you know what? I just want to be upfront with people like, hey, I'm talking to you and I have an agenda. My agenda is
Hmm.
this or that. And like I've become comfortable with the fact that I do have agendas and
Yeah.
I'm vocal about them. And I don't think it's useful for me to not be upfront. But to think that people don't have agendas, that's not smart. That's not smart. And so I don't know Rudy at Alpha. Is it Alpha Collecting? Is that what it's
Alpha
called?
Investments. Alpha
Alpha Investments.
Investments. Yeah.
Um, um, I've heard people speak positively of him lately. Whatever Hasbro has done has made him more famous. I'd never heard of him until this situation.
Controversy has a funny way of doing that.
It does. It does have a funny way of doing that. He's definitely benefiting in some ways, right? Um,
Yeah.
whether he means to or not, I don't know. This is not me talking about that, but anyways, it's important for us as individuals and then collectively as a hobby just to know that everybody has an agenda. Don't get all worked up about it. Just learn how to process and think through it and be intelligent. Grab a friend, think through it together, like have a conversation and don't get caught up in the agenda.
The word agenda has a negative connotation, and it's not always a negative thing,
No.
right? It's just whatever an individual's motivation is. In the case of Rudy, who I don't know personally, I haven't watched thousands of hours. Oh, bye Dre, have a good one. I haven't watched thousands of hours of his content or anything of that sort. But if I'm taking it at surface level, um, I can appreciate Rudy's agenda more than I can
Yeah,
Hasbro's.
that's what we're doing.
So,
We're picking which agenda we like the best.
well, yeah, I want to, yeah, yeah. I'm not. Listen, collecting is going to be fine regardless.
Yeah,
Collecting is going to be fine regardless. How many people can make a living doing it is what might
right.
change.
And how
Yeah.
collectors themselves are impacted by how they choose to be in the space could be experienced negatively or positively for sure. But
HH, very well said. Yes, indeed.
agenda is basically our intentions, and we all got intentions. Look, I hope you're looking at someone here on camera or hearing my voice as someone who is insanely intentional. Like with
Yeah.
every moment of the day, I am committed to having an intention and executing on it in action. Uh, that's
This
just
is
I think it's important.
This is really good. West Coast, I'm going to read your comment, but I will say the way it's worded is definitely, why Marvelous is responding here. But West Coast said, any influencer saying anything is completely trying to manipulate the market. He's being very, all right, he agrees with Keith. I get what he's saying. Meaning, anytime someone opens their mouth, they want to impose their intent on whomever's listening. Obviously, it doesn't have to be malicious or
Mhm.
anything of that sort. And the Marvelous Pack says, so is Spidey manipulating the market? Dave, by your definition, he is a Marvel card influencer. By Dave's definition, he is. But let's remove the word manipulating for one that doesn't have such a negative consequence or connotation, and the sentence reads a bit differently. But you're right, because Dave is also right. There's just ways to say it that sometimes sound malicious and sometimes not. It's kind of interesting. And it's contextual. Every individual these sentences could be applied to, but you look those individuals in the eyes and you can see who's out for blood and who's not.
Yeah, I
And
want to
and
be
there's
in this
nuance.
conversation for a minute. So, I grew up with con artists and manipulators. My dad's
There
in
you
the
go.
chat; he can attest to this. It was people who would use their words and actions to have you believe one thing when really they were selling another.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so with that being said, like such a distaste for it. Like I have a distaste for it. Like it
For
angers me. This is
oh,
why I don't even like the concept of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. I think that's manipulation. I don't even like it on that level. If I do something for you, it's because I love you, not because I want something in return
mm,
or I'm expecting in
yeah.
return. And
Yeah.
if I'm in a relationship where somebody says it's quid pro quo, like if I do something for you, you have to do it for me. Like, hey, I'm out. Like
Right.
I'm not a fan at all.
Yeah.
And so that's where the word manipulation or manipulator comes for me. But if you were to say, is Spidey wanting to inspire the market? Yeah, like there's some things I want to inspire. Like I want to inspire Upper Deck. I want to
Right.
inspire them to be better. Like I really do. And I think growing the hobby is one of the ways that happens. I came into Marvel card collecting and it felt like it was too isolated and insulated and hard to understand and get access to. And frankly, people were able to hoard cards that I thought was like, man, that's unusual. How are you able to have all those? Like they're really special. Like you
Yeah.
shouldn't have 8 of the 10. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
And so yeah, like I have an agenda. My agenda is just to be bright and light and share and make people aware. Like that's it. And if by some miracle I can also help make it a better place, if I can help get Upper Deck or whoever might in the future hold the license, do a better job, like I'm all for it. And I might stumble along the way because you know what? I'm human and I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I do have that agenda.
Yeah, I like it. I love this conversation. Um, we could pick any comment and it will open up another door for us.
Bumper and dumper.
I love it.
Hey, look, I will say this. There have been times where I pumped unknowingly.
Yeah, sure.
Like what I mean by that is like I got excited about something, not understanding the impact it had to somebody else.
Sure.
And so
Yeah.
I have grown to be more careful. Um, I used to share more what I was hunting, like the cards I was looking for, and I didn't realize the impact that was actually having, and what it was doing to prices, and what it was doing to some people who were like actively hunting those. And so I'm a little more careful.
Here's what I'll say about that. I agree with you, and I understand why you would be careful. I think that's all positive, right?
Mhm.
Like if you say something because you love it, and someone else is like, "I love it too," and they go buy it and it moves the needle. I think that's a positive thing. Um. Oh, I lost my. Oh, yeah. I won't. I probably can say this with confidence. I'm looking back at everything that I've sort of like spoken passionately about. Can I stand by the idea that anything that I've ever mentioned, I would buy for myself? And actually, I can because I'm pretty particular about what I say I like, and if and if I'm like clapping for something because other people are excited about it, you kind of see it on my face, or whatever my follow-up's going to be. You can kind of tell that I'm saying that to be nice, so that I don't, create waves for no reason.
Right.
But I'm pretty opinionated, and anything that I'm willing to post or talk about, I'm willing to spend my money on. And if me saying something like that about something
Mhm.
let someone else look at it in the same way, I can actually feel really good about it because I'm not doing it from a place where I don't believe in that thing.
Mhm.
Now, that doesn't mean someone might not lose their money. The
Mhm.
same way I could buy something that could go down in value, I might influence someone else to do it. That's an entirely different situation and conversation.
But what I would like for the people that at least listen to this channel is that if I say something that I like and it inspires you to like it, that's great. But make sure you really want it.
That's the thing. Make sure you yourself, you could
Mhm.
appreciate why Justin likes it, or you could appreciate why I like it. But before that moves you,
Mhm.
or after that moves you, because that might move you first. Our energy or someone talking
Yeah.
passionately about something can excite you, right? But then once you've taken that excitement in, evaluate. Say, wait a
Mhm.
second, what does it mean to me though?
Yeah.
Do I want this thing in my collecting room for the next 10 years? What does it mean to me? And that's a very important analysis that everyone should do before purchasing anything.
You have to. Like, I can listen to you talk about a collectible and why you believe it's special, and I immediately have to go through the process of going, do I pull it up and try to buy it right now?
Right, right.
No, just slow down, Justin.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know he was eloquent. I know what he said really made it sparkle in your mind
yeah.
and make it feel like you better get it now. But do you really want it?
Right.
And we need to. It's useful. I don't like saying we need to. It's just useful for me and maybe for you to be able to be able to pause for a moment and see, does it really fit my collection? Do I really have the money for it? Is this something that I really want or believe in? Whether I'm buying it to hold it or buying to sell it down the road, whichever reason you're there.
Wow. Speaking of that, perfect little transition.
Mhm.
Whether you're going to sell it for more later on down the line, if people bought
Mhm.
something they truly, truly loved and appreciated on a different level, not
Mhm.
just on a, I might be able to sell this for more later. The
Right.
greater fool theory, we'll talk more about that.
Yeah.
That can't be the only reason. If you buy something because you love it, imagine if what we didn't focus on was just growing the heck out of something for no reason. Oh, everybody should love this. That's foolish. Everyone shouldn't love everything. But if
No.
communities, even if they were small and deep rather than spread out and whatever,
Mhm.
if you only purchased, even within a small community, things you really loved and cherished, that actually would not only control the value, but almost guarantee, there's no guarantee, but almost guarantee that the only thing that would happen to the value is that it would go up. Why do I say that? Because
Mhm.
if you really love something, you're probably not buying a million of those because there's not that many things that we really, really love, which
Right.
means you probably didn't overextend yourself financially because you're not buying every new release of everything, right? You're buying very particular things that mean something to you. Now, when something means very much to you, you find it difficult to let it go in the first place. So you're probably less likely to fire sale it. You're
Mm.
probably less likely to turn to it as the first thing to turn into money when you need money, which
Mhm.
what does that do? Controls the value. Your sentimental attachment creates the floor. The floor is probably the price you paid, which probably guarantees that you're not going to take less than that, which does what? Holds the value.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting thing. If this communities became just more definitive about what they loved, it
Mhm.
would probably secure a lot of markets. Just not this whole big market, like it's not one of those things. Like you can't just be like cards, everyone in the world buy them. That's not
Right.
how that works. you know?
No, not how that works at all.
Yeah,
And I can't say that I've always bought things because I knew that I was going to love them. Buying online is a little interesting for me personally because until I hold it in hand, I'm not really able to connect. Does that make sense?
say it again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Buying online,
yeah,
like cards
yes,
specifically,
yes,
until I have them in hand, like I don't know how I'm really going to connect. Like with the
right,
gold Spider-Man PMG. If you go back and you look at any photos I ever posted, which were actually not a lot, it was almost never in the center of my display. It never really held that for me. Like it never felt like and just never held that space. And maybe I was guarding my own heart in a way,
maybe,
but when I would look at my cards in terms of just like what I enjoyed, it wasn't the best art. It just didn't have that particular space. It meant a
right,
lot to me because of the fact that it came to me and what it kind of meant to the hobby overall, like those kind of things, and maybe some of the things it did for me, the doors it opened for me. But it never really held that particular space and place for me that I loved it in the sense like I love my John Romita Senior Spider-Man sketch. Like I just
yeah,
love that card,
yeah.
and I didn't know I wanted it until I held one in hand. I was like, and then I brought it home and sat in my display. And I was like, this is better than anything I own.
That was a right decision. That feels good on every level, doesn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
there's not a thought of. I mean, I'm not saying I won't sell it. I'll sell anything for my girls, like hands down,
sure.
100%. I'll
Yeah,
sell you,
come
Manu.
on.
Sorry. I'll ask a lot, but
Thank you.
but yeah, it's like that's that particular card. Just that I don't have a thought of that one, and you know. But anyways, like it's interesting how you can build these ways in which you can kind of guard your mind and heart about things. And okay, someone said passion is. Oh no, I had it up. I wanted to talk about
Alonzo?
this
Yeah.
because of what he said. He said that he was here. It is Garrett.
Oh,
I was homeless 5 years ago and strung out. Me and my brother got into cards, and now I'm a millionaire flipper. No lies. No lies.
congratulations, Garrett.
Dude.
That's amazing. Now let's dive into this thing.
Well,
Wow.
a couple of different things. Collecting is a form of an addiction. That's a fact, inarguable. So it's interesting that he was strung out, but was able to shift his energies to cards, and that's been positive for him.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting that him and his brother are doing it together. I find that
Yeah.
fascinating because to
Yeah.
be homeless, strung out, and to be able to do something well with someone else, having come from that place, like that's really interesting to me. And I'm curious what he means by millionaire flipper. Like he's flipped $1 million worth of cars, or like it's made him a millionaire. Like that'd be interesting.
Ooh. Yeah, Garrett, that's a good one. He says, "Hey." He says, "Hey, Garrett, I not sorry if this is forward. That's a very interesting story, and I love that. Are we
Mhm.
connected on Instagram? Are you on Instagram? If we are not, could you please do me a favor and connect with me on Instagram? Just that sentence alone is a great story, and I'd like to know more about it if there is an Instagram page to
Mhm.
dive into of yours.
Hey, I want to show something before my phone dies because I'm gonna
Okay.
use the camera and it's only at 11%. So can I do that?
Yeah, yes, yes, of course, yes. Here, Garrett says, "Truth cards saved my life. I bought the right stuff at the right time, sports cards and comics." Congrats, congrats.
That's
Very well.
beautiful.
That means you did a lot of selling through the pandemic because that was how the money was made.
Not now.
Not right this moment. I mean, there's still some things, but not like it was in 2021.
Let's see if I can't get this correct. I know you're looking at my face twice. Give me a second. I gotta
You
see.
really look like Elon Musk on the bottom screen. That was uncanny. Yeah,
There we go.
Ryan, same here. Wishing you continued success, Garrett. That's really inspirational. And that's
So,
a
oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say that's a super positive flip on the word flipper. Flipper's not a bad, it just means you sell stuff that you bought. That's all that means. There's the negative connotation for the people that drag it through the mud, but that's a different story.
Well, collectors hate flippers.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That whole
Why?
age old.
Yeah. Why let it bother you? Like,
Soul
it's,
says, yeah, well, it gets in there's again nuanced, right? But yeah, I'm coming to a place where I'm like, live and let live, but don't, yeah.
well, when I say bother, I'm not saying like if someone's harming people, like that bothers me. But the fact that people want to sell something and make money, like I'm not gonna let that bother me. And maybe they want to make a lot of money. Like I'm not gonna let that bother me either, because I'm not gonna give them that kind of control over my emotions. Just,
We man, there's just yes, yes, yes. What are you showing here? Because I don't know
yeah.
the significance of it. I just know it looks good.
It looks good. So this is a card. It's not licensed, but this is from Trinity Comics. This
Hmm.
was a San Diego Comic Con exclusive. Down here at the bottom, it says 118 out of 800, and that is for this particular book here. So
Oh,
this is the COA that goes with this book, which is pretty cool. And I'm a little disappointed because according to most sources, this is considered the first full appearance of Mando
okay,
Din Djarin, but it's
okay.
not on the CGC label.
Oh, what does it say right in the center? What is it calling out about
Trinity
the book?
Comics edition.
Oh, got you. Okay.
And again, this was put out in, so this, I think, as I understand this story, um, my buddy Brent is the one who put this together with Trinity Comics, and he got how do you say that? Adi
What?
Gran Grambo cover. Can you read that?
Oh,
How do you read that name?
Addy Granov?
Yeah, there we go. He got him to do the cover, and Marvel liked it so much that they made it the official cover.
Sick,
And then
sick.
then there's the black and white version. And so there's only 800 of these supposedly, and then there's only 400 of these supposedly. And I'm gonna show you the black one has a COA too. Let me grab that. It's inside the slab. Now I thought I was going to get these signed, but I was unable to do so. Um, but I'm happy to have them anyways. But I love these COAs that come with it. Here's the black and white COA,
Yeah. I'm not
and
usually like too taken by black and white stuff, but that's pretty good looking.
yeah, and this one's 8 of 400. So I was really happy to get that. These two, I love the idea of trading cards, and I just love, I like, I'm not a big fan of gimmicks, but let me show you this as well. Somebody was talking about Moon Knight earlier, and uh, this is just a sick Moon Knight. Look at that.
Ryan, that's true. Sorry.
And
Oh,
there you go.
yeah, that is sick.
And this is a similar type of thing. It went with the comic book, but these aren't numbered. And here are these. These are similar cards. They're not connected, but I just love the idea. Like, what if one day Upper Deck would allow these comic book distributors who make these variants to have licensed Upper Deck cards where, like, let's use the Star Wars as an example, where there's, say, 400 of these issued, and of the 400, like 10 of them are hollow variants. but they come with the comic,
Right.
and they're like randomly in there or something. And but you could also get them and get them graded. Like I can't get this graded because it's not official license cards.
Right.
But I just thought these were pretty cool, and I wanted to share them before my phone died.
I like that Moon Knight one is like really stunning.
That's one of the best of Geis that I've seen. E.M. Geis.
Oh, I've
Yes,
heard. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
however you say his name. It's pretty cool. And then I've got one other
That's
thing I
very
wanted
good.
to share, which most people, I say most people, which people have probably seen, but maybe not
Hey,
everybody.
Soul, I'm going to answer your question about the Neff Huff stuff. I do. I mean, this is a Huff piece on the door, but I think you know that. But the new release, I'm going to talk to you more about that as well, because it's interesting that I didn't buy anything, because I very easily could have bought a bunch of stuff. Like meaning I liked it, and I could have convinced myself to buy a bunch. But I was very disciplined, and I'll talk about that in a second after Justin shows what he's showing. But bro, some of the pieces were really good looking, like really good looking. Oh, and I have some of the Neff stuff too. Yeah, like the Neff flower stuff. I have the Venom flower hoodie. I've got the Marvel flower shirt. I bought a bunch of the flower stuff. I really liked it. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
So this is the ASM 300 cuts.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna be able to lay this out right now, but
Cards of Metal, what's going on, my guy? What's
what's up,
up?
bud? I did want to show these to everybody in the channel.
What's the highest grade you got? Did you get 9.5 on the? Did you get the barcode? Is the barcode a 9.5?
We'll have to see. So this
Okay,
one's a
okay.
9.5. Sorry, I can't get all of that in the camera well, but this one's really special.
I
'Cause we
do
got
like Stussy cards. I didn't buy them because I think they're a little bit more expensive than I want to pay, but I do like them because I have a personal attachment to the brand Stussy.
you see that
I
one?
love that one. That one's so good. It's
Isn't
just
that
nice.
great?
The art box. And it looks really cool seeing some of the 300s on the side of it. I didn't anticipate it standalone looking so good by itself.
Look at that one.
Yeah, that's something. That's something. That's
Oh, I love
something.
that one.
That is the center of the cover, man. That's
That is,
the piece.
that's the center. You know, a lot of this alone doesn't look that good. Like, hey, I got a foot.
Right. I was about to say, man, that's the first time we see McFarlane drawing the symbiote suit Spidey, but that's completely not correct because 298 and 299, but still.
Look at that. There's your
Yeah.
newsstand 95.
I'm so weird. I think that's so cool.
I know, I do too. I love it.
Oh my gosh.
My buddy, one of these, the cover has a crease in it. He's like, how does CGC give that a 9.5 and the comic itself has a crease? How do they not grade the comic too?
That's that's actually funny. That's
Yeah.
an interesting one. I'm sure some decisions had to be made.
Well, I mean, you can't grade the comic. Come on now. There we got the blue foot.
No, this is a card. There's the blue foot.
Yep.
Man, Derek and West Coast are having a bit of an exchange. I want to catch up. And
Oh,
then,
catch up. I'm just showing these. I wanted to show these on the channel.
no, yeah, I'm trying to catch up. Derek says, okay, I'm out for real this time. Stop showing. Oh, I thought he was leaving because something went wrong. He's just got to go. All
He's
right,
got to
Derek,
go.
have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, talk to you soon.
Yeah, but I wanted to show those. So there those are. I know a lot of people, going along for the journey on that. But
Yeah.
very honored not only to have them graded, but for
Hey,
CGC, CGC. They did a whole little special, video reveal on them and so forth.
I actually didn't really realize that that's the first time that the slabbed ones have made their appearance on the show.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Wow.
I was in New York last week. Well, I've had these for a while, but CGC wanted to do their video that they did. And I wanted
Oh
to let
yeah.
them
Yeah.
release that before I showed them. And then I went to New York the week that they released it, so didn't get to do that.
Man, New York seemed like a blast. I mean,
Oh, somebody asked earlier, like, how was it? So I've got a couple of thoughts there. Number
Hmm.
one, I had the best time with my daughters and my wife. It was fantastic. I knew New York was going to be expensive, but I
Yeah.
was still not prepared for it.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah. So when you're feeding four people and just a casual breakfast is almost $200, like that, I was not prepared for that.
Oof. Wow.
Like,
Yeah. And that
yeah,
you
it was,
said that's the casual breakfast. That wasn't
yeah,
the
that's
let's
just
go
like
have brunch on
waffles
a
and eggs,
Sunday.
Yeah, that's not like going to like a five-star, or touristy trap type situation.
Wow.
Like it was surprisingly expensive in that regards.
Wow.
But
Wow.
again, I hate to even bring that up because we had a great trip, but
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
had wonderful weather, we had a great time. Broadway was amazing. Central Park was actually really awesome. Really enjoyed Central Park a lot.
Nice.
Um, yeah, it was a good sweet 16 birthday for my daughter and a family
Yeah.
vacation. We did the Macy's Day Parade on Thanksgiving Day and all that kind of cool stuff. So it was good. Thank you for asking.
No, that's really nice. And I want to say I love this look on you where there's a slim hoodie inside of a jacket.
Yeah.
I might have seen it before, but with your New York trip, this is going to be anyway. I think it was a gray hoodie, navy blue suit jacket or sports
Yeah.
coat, whatever you want to call it. Boy, does that look good on you. That was sharp, my friend. That
Well,
I
I appreciate
Yeah,
that. Not the
that was
first time
good.
I've worn it. I've actually worn it. I wore it to a fashion show a couple of years ago with my
Makes sense.
daughter,
Yeah,
and then I wore it to a wedding recently.
yeah,
Um, but I actually now those are like not a fashion show and a wedding. You can kind of go out of bounds a little bit to some degree,
yeah,
and of course, New
yeah,
York, you can do whatever you want. Um,
yeah.
but I was like, that's what I want to wear. So I'm just going to start wearing it from now on, like normal.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, Bad Wizard said, "I dug that look."
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that, Chris.
Oh, Alonzo
Buddy
as
is
well. A
GQ.
lot of people really appreciated it. Yeah, Spidey, it's GQ indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
So West Coast says, did you not find a place with good bacon and eggs? Sandos? That's a casual NYC breakfast. Well, what I'm really referring to is the fact that we ordered.
Sandos are sandwiches.
Oh, I have not. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's what he's saying. He's saying
Okay.
sandwiches. Yeah, Sandos.
We just ordered a breakfast from the hotel, which was like bagels and
Oh,
sausage egg
yeah,
biscuit. It was $168,
yeah,
and it
yeah,
was it was actually not good at all. So, but
yeah.
anyways, enough about New York.
How expensive New York is. Yeah,
Mhm. So you said something to me the other day.
yeah,
Getting back to hobby talk, you
yeah, yeah.
said, or maybe it was a post you did that says cat pajamas that that said we're headed into a junk slab era.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
And I had this thought, like if I was going to hang an Amazing Fantasy 15 in a museum, would I want to hang it raw or would I want to hang it in a slab?
Okay.
A
Y-
museum, not my
Yeah,
house.
yeah. I mean,
Like, in a museum.
personally, a museum should have a raw one, because it just
Why?
should.
Because why?
Because who cares about the plastic case with the stupid label on the top? That's impersonal. That's not special. That's special because we need it to identify value. That's not special in preserving something that's historically significant. The museum is where you want it to be in its natural presentation. That's how I
So
feel about it.
I'm with you. You and I are we're in accord here. So why would I want to collect something that I wouldn't want to put in a museum one day?
That's a good one. I've reduced the amount of my collection is 80% raw.
Mm.
Maybe 90 or 95% raw, actually, if you really count how many raw comic books I have in relation to graded ones. My PC, I'm very happy in a place of identifying myself, an ultra high grade copy, and putting it in an E. Gerber fullback in Mylar and putting it away. I say this often. I don't handle majority of my collection very often. I don't even have access to majority of my collection. I'm not concerned about its well-being.
Yeah.
I don't look at it every day. I don't care, about its value. Some of my collection is going to be something that I investigate once every 5 years. And so uh, uh, I'm actually turned off by the idea of slabbed items at the moment. I look at a CGC graded book, and it's almost like, because of who I am and how uh, uh, the confidence that I have in my own ability to identify something, I almost feel like I'm just wasting money, letting this company tell me what I already know about something. But then
Mhm.
I have to separate myself from why I'm grading it. I'm not grading it because I need to know what it is. The reason I'm grading it is because other people have more faith in that case. And that's what makes it something that people get more excited about and pay more
It makes it
for.
more liquid. Let's just be
Makes it more liquid.
frank. It
Yeah.
makes it more liquid.
The argument
Um,
of keeping it safe is not my argument. I can keep my stuff safe just fine.
so would you say that slabbing a collectible ha- actually has more to do with creating confidence and transparency through an online experience as a buyer and a seller than it does what it means to actually hold something as a collectible?
Can you repeat that one more time? It was cutting off just a little bit, but I want the whole
Yeah.
sentence, please.
So do you think that the kind of evolution of grading may have more to do psychologically with the fact that people are buying online and it creates confidence and transparency in what you're buying,
Yes.
and more so than how people really want to hold their collection?
It has nothing to do with how people want to hold their collection. People didn't think putting their book in plastic is what they needed until
Mhm,
somebody sold it to them. And then it became recognized as sort of the regular, because buying and selling is a large part of our community. I'm gonna
mhm.
I'm gonna relax my energy, and I'm gonna talk about that in just a second. West Coast Avengers, I'm gonna elaborate on that. So what I
Where's
want
he
to
at?
say
Right
here,
here, the slab?
well, there's something he said. He said, "Wait, did you mean junk slab like crappy plastic?" No, no, no. I
Nope.
mean junk slab like things that you did not need to spend your money slabbing. It's not going to hold its value. You're going to lose money, and you wasted your time, and it's taking up more space. And a lot of
So,
people are
hey,
going to be telling
so
that
so
story.
let's explain the parallel. We're using junk slab in reference to a time in the 90s where we have junk wax.
Oh
Wax
yeah, so we're
being wax being in a
overproduced.
box of cards
Yeah,
that the moment you open the box, the contents in the box are worth less than the box sealed.
exactly. Yeah, and I didn't come up with junk slab. I heard somebody say it and it resonated with me because it makes
Mhm,
perfect sense and it's accurate, because I'm critical of people slabbing things that they don't need to all of the time. It's what keeps the grading companies so happy and not addressing the actual problems, because there's plenty of people slabbing $40 books. Guys, stop wasting your time. And if your hopes are, I'm going to slab this and one day it's going to pop, find a different hope, man, because like how many books are you going to slab waiting for it to pop? You're going to keep wasting $35 and having these stacks of plastic all over the place? Like,
mhm,
it's not a sensible thing to do. It's not the stock market where at a push of a button you sell something. If you end up with 1,000 slabbed books, you have more of a liability than you have an opportunity to make any money. So really reconsider and be critical about what you guys are doing. And I don't mean that personally to anybody at all. I forgot what about your sentence I was going to speak on, but there was something. But since I'm already on this rant,
mhm.
um, West Coast, yeah. So as not a direct relationship, that's not why it resonated with me. Junk wax and junk slab, but just slabbing comes because when you're selling grading any of these things started because when you were selling an expensive item, it was hard for a consumer, whether it's online or in person or across the table at a comic book store, for someone to take someone's word for it. If they say, hey, this whatever first appearance whomever is a 7.5, it's from 1960 something, and I want to charge you $30,000 for it. Or actually, they wouldn't have used the word 7.5. They would have said near mint minus, very good, very fine, those sort of identifiers,
Yeah.
and they're pricing it based on that. Well, a lot of people got burned in that way because you'll buy a book for 40 grand, 30 grand, and then somebody that not a grader but someone that evaluates and appraises these books will
Mhm.
identify, oh, this staple was replaced, oh, there was color touch, and all of a sudden the perceived value of your book, if it's ever going to come to auction, these things have to be called out because the appraiser found them or someone that knows how to deal with paper found them. and you made a bad choice. So how do you alleviate that? That pain point gets solved by a third-party grading company. Problem is now the third-party grading companies are no longer unbiased, or whatever the word is. The word of
Well,
third
unbiased means that um, they're not a disinterested third party in the sense that they don't have they now have
an
an
interest in
interest
the
where they
grade.
didn't have an interest. Yeah.
Exactly. And so that doesn't exist anymore, right? There are interests. The grading companies, when we get into the structure of things and the ownership of things, there's intermingling. There's different agendas at play, and the agendas can whisper and influence the other agenda, because the people acting out the agendas are just human beings trying to get a paycheck and not lose their job. So they'll do whatever they're told to do. Let's not be disillusioned about this, right? And so slabs have become something that slabs are not intended to be at the beginning. Now we look at them as the actual product. We look at the value being the number in the corner, but what that number and that product used to represent, we have to realize is gone now. It's there in some cases, but in many cases, it's just baloney, right? You're literally paying for a lie. Perfect example is that Wizard magazine of mine that I
Yeah.
knew was a 9.8. They sent it back to me as a 9.6. That's a $1,200 book. I just sold that 9.8 for $6,000. That's one
Mhm.
heck of a difference, all right, for you to just have your opinion and put it
For
on
two
the corner.
tenths, two
Yeah,
tenths of a
let me
point
tell
in
you what,
grade.
I know what I know. I knew what that book was. I wasn't going to sell it as a 9.6 because some company that's lost whatever they were supposed to be doing
Mhm.
is just throwing books around now. No. So I graded it again. I got the 9.8 it was supposed to be, and that was a
Mhm.
$5,000 difference. That is far more significant than that little printed 6 and a little printed 8.
Mhm.
The reason for slabs, we're not protected just because it's slabbed. It's not the truth just because it's slabbed. The businesses that slab stuff have been caught up in the business of slabbing stuff, not in what they were actually supposed to be protecting in the first place. This is a reinvention of our community.
Mhm.
These are the things that people are up in arms about. Is that even an appropriate thing to say anymore? These are the things that people are upset about, and
Up in arms
change is
still
going to
works.
come. Yeah, and change has to come. Change will come. I mean, even the companies are now realizing, dang man, these people aren't just buying all the stuff we're shoving down their throat. You know what I mean? Like, oh, people got us figured out. Yeah,
Mhm.
it took a while. It took for people to lose a lot of money. It took for people to be disrespected by companies, waste a lot of time, but then they wake up. And if the right people wake up, well, they could influence a bunch of people that might have been influenced by the wrong people at one point
Right.
in time. And I want to
Right.
associate myself with the people that are being good influences.
Yeah. And I just want to think through, like, if you're expanding your collection, there's this just lingering thing in my brain, which I've said over and over on the channel, from a value standpoint, are the things that people determine as the most collectible. It often becomes it is what someone didn't want that becomes the thing that people wish they had.
I love you, Dave. Thank you. Sorry.
But
Yes, you're right. You're right.
it's the thing that they didn't want that people wish that they had. And and we see that. It happens. Like I assume that Magic the Gathering started out as a game, right? A card game. And people are playing it
Yeah.
and they're handling
Yeah.
it and they're getting damaged. And then people realize, like, hey, I want to collect that, but the original ones were not printed very much and they got damaged because they were played. No one really wanted it, but now we do.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And
Yeah.
so if all of a sudden every 35-year-old to 45-year-old male, female in America has graded comic books, well, guess what? Well, you have one too. Oh, I have one too.
That's it. That's it. If a new book is being released and they're selling 9.8s, oh, it's only 300 9.8s. What the heck is the purpose of it being a 9.8? 300 people are getting the same exact thing. You could have sold me 300.5s. Psychologically, it's the same exact thing. The
Mhm.
scarcity and rarity is because one exists less than the other. If they're all the same
Right.
thing, who cares?
Well, take my uh whatever it is, Mandalorian #1, whatever. I don't even know what the title is
Mm-hmm.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
And they printed like 3,000, 5,000 copies.
Mm-hmm.
The maker said, "Hey, I'm going to limit these to 800 and 400." So what they did is they went through and they picked out the choicest copies, meaning they picked out all the 9.8 plus candidates.
Yeah, that doesn't create a collectible. You buy that book if you like the book. You do not buy that book because it's going to go up in value. It ain't.
Which means there's likely close to 800 9.8s out there.
Yeah.
and know, like, because if they're true to what they're supposed to do, they tear up the rest of them and destroy them, right? Like they get rid of them.
Right.
And so, is that now like is that special? Or
No,
if
no.
one raw copy slipped through the cracks,
The
that
raw
was
one is special.
still
Now the
that's still
9.6 is the
9.8.
sought after
And
one.
now 25 years ago, people want to buy the number one copy of Mandalorian. Like if you're not cracking the slab, like the raw might be more special, you know? And so
Exactly.
I mean, and I'm no expert. Please know who you're who you're hearing. Like I'm just a guy in Louisiana hit record. Like I just want to think through for me, if I'm chasing everything that everybody else is chasing that everybody else has, then I'm probably not going to be holding something that's actually collectible in terms of like growing in value and desirability long term. It's a Beanie Baby.
Yeah. Hey, my Beanie Baby's actually valuable, and I'm going to show you guys
Of
soon.
course, Manu has the only valuable Beanie Baby.
Well, I don't know if it is. We'll see. The chat will definitely tell me. It
Ryan,
might not
I
be.
am, but I think organic collectability will win long term.
Right.
I
I
believe
agree.
that.
I
And
absolutely agree.
manufacturer scarcity, as I understand it, happens in a number of different ways. The fact that it can be condition rarity, which is somewhat manufactured. I just talked about one through grading.
Mhm.
It can be um, artificial rarity, where one person's holding like the bulk of everything and then just leaking it out.
Right.
And so, but then there's absolute rarity. Now, if you're able to connect absolute rarity with iconic and historically important, we've had this conversation with one of our first videos, remember? If we can connect absolute rarity with iconic, with historically important,
Right. Right.
with also having an aesthetic appeal that's there, like then you have
Yeah.
something that's really pretty special. I mean,
Absolutely.
the Action Comics number one, Superman number one are going to continue to be valuable forever
Absolutely.
because they have
Absolutely.
all of those elements. There's
There's no
absolute
question.
rarity,
There's no
iconic.
question.
Anyway,
And even something like that is not bulletproof. The enthusiasm of 2021 made a lot
mhm.
of those prices go up as well. And now you can buy an AF-15 for half of what it was during the peak. Doesn't It's still extremely valuable, and it always will be. And it's still higher than it was in 2019. So we did find a nice little floor.
Yeah,
But market factors can still affect even the real deal stuff. But an AF-15, a Detective Comics, um, uh, those are just legitimately real deal,
yeah,
historically significant. You could put your money on it. And
yeah.
if you got a long enough horizon, again, guys, just opinions, but if you got a long enough timeline or time horizon, it's like property. Even if you bought an AF-15 during the peak, if you don't got to sell it,
No,
your plan was to put it away for 20, 30 years anyway. Just be happy you got it. Just be
yeah.
happy you got it. You know what? Buy another one. Bring your cost down. There you go.
Your cost basis. I love that
Yeah,
idea. I mean, I understand the math. Like I paid 30 for this one. Now I'm getting to 15. Now I'm into two for
for
45.
20 each or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
however
yeah,
you want to. Yeah,
right.
okay. Yeah, now 20 each. Now I'm somehow winning. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
I get that. I saw this thing on the other day. Like, if I bought I'm not going to do that math. That's dumb. I like what
Okay.
JoJo says here. There's a lot of things out there that are rare and worthless. They're both.
Um,
It's
wait.
actually
Say,
rare
oh
to
yeah,
be
there are a
rare
lot of
and
stuff. Yeah.
valuable. And so how do you identify that? I mean, that's where desirability comes in. You
Yes, HH. Your question's gonna play into this as well.
Yeah. I mean, as much as I want to sit here and go there, I don't know how many there is. I think there's 3,000 PSA 10 Michael Jordan 86 Fleer rookie
There's a
cards.
lot. Yeah, there's
There's
a
a
lot.
lot,
Yeah,
but that's
300, I think, or
still
3,000.
3,000, I think.
Anyway, a
Somebody
lot.
fact check this. Somebody knows that. And oh, actually, I think look,
Yeah, somebody please
they're
fact
already
check.
here. Wait, is this?
Oh, that's part of his question? No, that's LeBron James. I think there's 300 of the Jordan rookies, but fact check.
However,
Justin and I like arguing with each other, and we
yeah,
want to do it.
whatever it is. And but that's rare compared to how many people who are willing to buy it. The desirability factor based on demand that creates the demand. And so
Exactly.
that one's
Yeah. Where HH said here, he said his 900, 9.8 is a lot. Not if it's an AF-15, because way more than 900 people want it. But 900 of something that came out yesterday, yeah, that's too much.
I tell you though,
that's
here's
too
the
much.
thing, and everybody has their own thought, but Mando Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, that dude, he jumped on the scene and became like a top 5 Star Wars character.
I've
And
heard.
that's not easy to do. I mean, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like I just got to 6.
Yeah.
So for him to penetrate that, I didn't get to Yoda. Like, I mean, for him to penetrate that this quickly and to have such like just about every Star Wars fan has said, yeah, I really like Mando. Um, there is some long-term potential there where 800 and 400 actually becomes, I think, maybe an importantly low number compared to how many people would want it.
But what is that? That's a variant of a book,
Yeah.
correct?
So you have the official Marvel released issue number 1, which they printed them to the moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's my belief. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. And then they had variants, and this is not the only variant. There are other variants, but this is the one I think has the best art, along with being low printed, along with being a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. It has the other elements that I like.
Right. And you could count on that other people like those elements as well. Ryan says, yeah, 319. I had a feeling
There
it
you go.
was about 300, which again, when it had the $750,000 sale in late 2020 or 2021, whenever it was, listen, the only thing I said about that was that's amazing. That's not going to hold, because if 300 people have something and it's going to net them close to $1 million, they're going to bring some of them to market, and the price not going to hold. There are more cards than there were people with $750,000 to spend on them. It ain't gonna hold.
So true.
Now the card's at 150,000. That's still a lot. Is it really at 150,000? We don't know. But that's where, that's like one of the last sales, right? That's still a tremendous amount, but it makes a lot more sense than 750,000. I personally feel like
I
750 just
remember as a kid looking at a Beckett and going, man, a Michael Jordan rookie card, like because they would give the mint value, right, is $1,500. I remember that.
right.
You froze on me.
Yeah, sorry. I heard you say $15
Fifteen
for a mint
hundred,
Jordan
fifteen
card.
hundred in the back then.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it was less than
Yeah.
that. Maybe it was like 800. It wasn't a lot.
Yeah, maybe so. One of the things in comic books that there's a gentleman that I really wish he would make more YouTube videos. He used to go really, really hard during the pandemic. I think, he's got probably beautiful things happening in his personal life, so I believe the videos have slowed down. His channel is called 9 CGC 9.8. Like, I think that's what his channel is called. It's called
Oh,
like,
wow.
see, I forget the name just because the videos don't come out too regularly. Awesome dude, love him. He's also on Instagram, but again, just not active currently. Um, and he turned me on to a concept that I didn't think about when I was first thinking. I was looking at the numbers, like how many 9/8s are there? But he always talks about this ratio of how many 9/8s there are to everything else. And depending on certain years, certain books have a different ratio. But ASM 300, Amazing Spider-Man 300, has one of the best ratios. It's less than 5% 9.8s compared to the rest. And we have to look at things like that because that's what's determining how scarce the 9.8 is. Now, there's 20 some odd thousand graded 300s. There's
Mhm.
2,000 or over 1,000 of them are 9.8s, but still represents only 5% or less of the entire thing, which still lends significance to it. And a book like that has enough of a market to absorb thousands of high grade copies. It's one
Right.
of the most significant comic books of all time. Like, it's different. You can't compare that to everything. But when a book comes out with 1,000 copies, you're like, well, that's rare. But again, when you're assessing the value, there's no condition rarity there. All 1,000 are the same. So the idea is just do you want one? That extra element of which one's worth more than the other doesn't exist. It's just, do you want one? But someone did bring up alpha and omega in terms of the numbering. If those are hard numbered items, well, then yes, number one or the lowered number ones will essentially bring in more money because psychologically we think that's cool. So lowered number batches as well as the top number,
Mhm.
most people will pay a premium for. But Team CGC 9.8, I love podcasts. You are absolutely right. And his name is Jerry, if I'm not mistaken. Jerry, I hope you're well. And I want to see those videos coming. Maybe they are coming and it's just not aggregating for me because they dropped off for a little bit. But Jerry's the man, Team CGC 9.8, super knowledgeable collector.
Yeah.
Sophisticated, disciplined, knowledgeable collector. Very rarely does he make mistakes. Yeah.
In real estate, when I would assess a neighborhood as a real estate appraiser, I would go into that neighborhood and I would want to understand what is the floor and what is the ceiling of that neighborhood.
Yeah.
Meaning, to some degree, even if I built a mansion in that neighborhood, someone's not going to pay over this amount. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Like there's a side of town that doesn't have very good schools. There's a lot of high crime rate, a lot of blight in the neighborhood. I could build a very nice house there, and it's still not going to sell over a certain amount. Does that make
Okay.
sense? It
Yes.
has a
Yes.
ceiling for that neighborhood of what somebody will ultimately pay. I could take that same house, put it in a different neighborhood, and it has a very different ceiling and floor for it.
Okay.
That makes sense? And
Does.
so I kind of view the ASM 300 as being this book that, number one, it's like iconic. So everyone wants one on their wall.
Yeah.
So there's that
Yeah.
element that's there.
Yeah.
But it also is like you have, I collect at this level and this is my floor ceiling. And then I get to this level and this is my floor ceiling. It's like at the top of the ceiling of that next level for collectors.
Yeah,
Where
that makes sense. Yeah.
so it's got a safety net there, especially the 9.8 of I'll always be willing to pay up to that amount relative to where, cost of living is, inflation, that so forth and so on in that space, because I'm in that next tier of big books. And then there's the people who are able to buy the big books, like the next tier, and they scoff at the ASM 300.
Right. Right. Exactly. They're spending $100,000 on Hope
Yeah, they're like,
181s and what have you.
you finally got 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths.
No,
I got
I hear you.
5-car garage. I don't care about
That
your little 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath.
that was interesting. Like it is in the next level, right? Like if
Right.
you're just a beginning collector. Now, if your finances allow you to just jump right into that tier, great. But that's almost not so fun.
Mhm.
When you're starting, dude, my first slab was $100 9.8 and it came in the mail and I was like, this is a slab? This is cool. And I thought that was crazy to spend $100
Right.
bucks on a book. I spent $10,000 the other day.
You gotta be careful. Once you use that muscle, you use it again, use it again, use it again.
but if you stair step, like it just becomes relative. And I'm a collector seller, and there are ways to make the collection pay for itself, right? Like, and it's part of what keeps it engaging and fun. But you're right, that ASM 300, it's in
Uh-huh.
that second tier, but you want to work your way up there. You want to know what all of those
Yeah.
journey and learning experiences are. You want to grade,
It's
that
the
book.
nicest house in the middle class neighborhood.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay, cool.
Okay, so Cardboardology says very interesting comparison comparing different card markets like sports, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, and Marvel. Games with rare cards where people actually play them, the expensive cards like Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't like comparing Marvel cards to other trading cards. This is me personally. And it's not because I'm like defensive of Marvel cards. Number one, I don't know the other collecting space well enough to do that well, like to
Yeah,
to give a really good comparison. So
same here.
that's one
Yeah.
reason. I also just think Marvel cards are different. They don't have the play factor. Okay. They're not sports cards. They're not. Even the Marvel cards that have brands that are sports brands where there's crossover appeal, they're not sports cards. They don't have that aspect as prevalent as, oh, well, that is a rookie who went on to score 50 points in a game, or went on to win playoff games, or went on to win a championship, went on to go to the Hall of Fame, and no one knew it going into it. It just doesn't really have that in Marvel cards. And at the same time, like for me personally, I think Marvel cards are better. Like I really do. And when you get into the aspect of Marvel cards being connected to these, mythological heroes and villains and things that we really enjoy and appreciate it. And when you look at, like, Google it, the top collecting items, number one is pop culture. Number one is pop culture. Sports cards is like seventh, eighth on the list that I've seen. Marvel cards actually fits more of a pop culture element than it
Yeah.
does the sports card element. Yeah, they're both trading
Yeah.
cards, and I get that medium, so to speak. But I just think I think there's a danger to try to treat Marvel cards like you would treat and handle buy and sell collecting of a sports card. I just think it's dangerous. Are you hearing me? Because you're
And
freezing
I
on me.
agree with you saying that. Yeah, but all of your words, even though they were coming through a little choppy, I definitely heard them all. And I think the last thing that you said was it's dangerous to treat Marvel cards the way you would a sports card, right?
Mhm.
The factors that determine the collectability of them. What I really appreciate about what you said is that, and I agree, like Marvel cards are more like a pop culture sort of card, or a reference, if you will.
Mhm.
Again, for me, that's rooted in our childhood emotions and what we remember. That's all it is. There's the reason there's a 30-year cycle to nostalgia stuff, right? Because you have to
Mhm.
become a certain age to be able to afford what you couldn't, remember it, want that feeling because life really beat the happiness out of you,
Right.
you know? And that's how you get it back. And so that happens with every space that I've ever really seen. You know, you talk about like classic cars, it hits a certain point where the value is not going down anymore, it's only going up,
It's only
right?
going up. Yeah, I think I
And
remember
and
my dad telling me, "Hey, look, you have a car, and then after like 2 years, it's no longer new, then it's used, and then it's used for, I think it was like 15 years, and then I don't remember the exact map, but like when it hits 25 years old, it's a classic, and then the value starts going
right,
back up again." Like, I can't
yeah,
remember the exact age. Somebody may know, but yeah, there's that
yeah.
arc that it has. It's very interesting.
Absolutely, right? And that's also the concern that I have, in sort of like the personal warning that I like to wear about new stuff. You
Mhm.
know, we don't have an emotional connection with new stuff. If you say that you have an emotional connection with the character, I'm willing to bet you have a stronger emotional connection with the product with that character on it that you actually remember from when you were 7 than you
Right?
do with the product that just came out. So when you don't have that emotion sort of controlling what somebody might be willing to sell it for, or how they treat it or respect it, it's more susceptible to fluctuation, violent fluctuation, volatility in price. Um, and more than something that's older. Not that older things can't fluctuate, they do, but the volatility, the ability to let go of something that you're less emotionally attached to, is going to be connected more with something modern. But again, if you're buying now and you got a long-term hold, 30 years from now, someone's nostalgia might kick at, the first null card out of Spidey Metal,
Right. Well, it
you
might,
know?
and I mean, in fairness though, like if I were to open up a modern pack of cards with my daughter and we hit something rare and special that she enjoyed, like I could have a new memory and nostalgia, so to speak, because of something like that. But generally speaking, I
That's
agree
right.
with you that you're likely going to you're going to have a greater emotional appeal to something that you've had an appeal to for most of your life. But at the same time, imagine the 40-year-old looking at comic books and Marvel cards in the 90s.
Imagine the 40-year-old right now looking
No, no,
at
no, like,
comic.
no. Whoever was 40 in
Us.
1994.
Oh, in 1994, who was 40? Got you, got you, got you.
All right, let me set it up better.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
1960. I don't know the right year. And your grandpa hears you listening to Elvis. What is your grandpa
Yeah.
saying? oh, he's got the
Turn off
devil in
that.
his hips. You know, it's, you just, he just has women swooning over him. He's just wicked and evil and blah, blah, blah. You can't listen to that rock and roll, Satan's in the air, kind of thing. And then take those kids who listen to Elvis, they're like, oh man, he just sings the gospel so well. He's just so wholesome and special. And I just love his music,
Yeah.
but what you're listening to, that's just the worst thing ever. You shouldn't listen to that, blah, blah, blah. And
Right.
we tend to hate what's new when we're older. It's a more natural course of life to hate what's new when you're older.
I will
And
say this. Oh, sorry.
yeah, and I know I may have broke up on something there, but we tend to hate what's new when we are older.
Yes.
It's in competition with what we loved when we were a kid.
Yeah.
And so I think that, for me, I want to keep somewhat of an open mind. I want to enjoy what I enjoy, but I also want to keep an open mind that this is someone else's nostalgia in the future.
Yes. And if somebody wants to bet on that and hold a bunch of stuff for 30 years until it is someone else's nostalgia, you're holding something that isn't special to you in the meantime. Well, then good for you. Do that.
30 years, it gets
Uh,
here fast, man.
it got here. Hopefully he gets here again. But here's wow, I've been losing my train of thought
That's
a lot
okay.
today. But you were talking about, nah, forget it. I can't get it back without asking you to repeat something, and I don't even know what to ask you to repeat. So it'll just come when it comes.
All right, we're gonna go to these comments then. I
Yeah,
want to get to a couple of them. He says, "Y'all, I'm 45 now. When I'm in the nursing home, and we're gonna have an Xbox One
I remembered.
and Nintendos, and we'll be playing D&D." Why don't you go ahead while you're remembering it, and I'm gonna get to a couple of these comments.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about being older and looking at what the younger people are doing, 30 years younger than you, and being critical of it, or thinking that it's attacking your beliefs about what's good and what's not, and then being critical of it, like
Mhm,
that's a stereotype rooted in reality. We all know that.
mhm.
I used to sag my pants. People that were 40 years old when I was 15 were like, what are you
You
doing? We don't
sagged your
want to.
pants?
Oh yeah, I'm
You
back to
you
sagging them
rebel.
again. Fashion is cyclical.
Uh-huh.
I got cargo pants on right now that aren't as high as they were last year. Fashion changes, it just is what it is. It's weird. Oversized stuff is back. It's fun. I love it.
Ah,
I literally have bought extra large flannels, like I'm swimming in them, and that's just the look, and I just love it. So anyway,
I can't do it. I look, I wore Jinkos, and I don't want to derail the conversation here.
yeah, no, but that's those are nuances about personality.
Yeah,
That's a lot of
yeah,
stuff.
okay,
I'm sure there's music I listen to that you don't listen to, and maybe vice versa, right? Like that's just different.
for
That's
sure.
geographic and who you're around. It's none of it makes a difference at all, right? Because it is truly what's on the inside that counts. Bottom line, like that
Amen,
is
brother.
absolutely the truth. And so, but that's actually this is actually leading to my point where being 40 years old 40 years ago is not like being 40 now. 40 now is kind of influenced by the same thing as 14-year-olds. We're all watching the same thing. We all have
Mm.
access to the same stuff. Information travels a lot
Ooh,
more. The way fashion used to only influence a young person is not the same anymore. You're wearing a hoodie under your sports coat because of fashion, not because of your age,
yeah, fact.
and so it's different now. And so I think
Mm.
that's all I wanted to say. It's different
No, and
now.
I want
The
to be here
age
for a
gap
second
is
with this
not as,
conversation. I want to tell
yeah,
the chat, I'm going to get to the should Marvel
that's right,
cards have
Charles.
number cards? Should Marvel
Okay,
cards
yeah.
have number cards? I want to get to that conversation. But I love what you just said. The information travels faster. We have access to it. It's influencing all of us instead of some of us because of
Hmm.
the way life works now in terms of the way information. But when you think about the 90s, okay, so full disclosure, I listened to a podcast that recently, and I shared this with Manu. It's called "Why Do I Hate Everything" or something like that. Why do people hate
Right, right.
everything? And
Why does
then
it seem like people hate everything?
yeah, and then on
Yeah.
top of that, the person that was on that podcast wrote a book called "The '90s," called "The '90s," and I found myself
Okay.
really appreciating his intellect in the podcast. So I wanted to listen to this book. And one of the things he talked about with the 90s that was very interesting was that it was the first time that people had access to a lot of information, but they didn't have a way to fact check it. They had cable TV, they had all this stuff coming at them, but they were not able to fact check it. Fast
Nope.
forward, now we have a lot of information and we can like not only fact check it, we have an ability to express ourselves about it. And he gives this example. He was like, let's say you were a Pearl Jam fan. You like Pearl Jam. So you have a Pearl Jam shirt. But let's say you hated Nirvana. That sounds weird for me to say, but let's say it was true.
Yeah.
You didn't wear a shirt that said, I hate Nirvana.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, we see it in the chat tonight. I don't like this. I don't like that. Like people have a way to express what it is they don't like now in a very unique way. Have you been on Twitter lately? Like,
I haven't actually, but I can imagine.
yeah, like we have a way to express what we don't like. And I remember explaining this in my to my team at work. I was like, hey guys, we have become a review culture. We have become a review culture where it's not used to, it was based on brand trust. Stay with me here.
Rena,
I
you're
know I'm
absolutely
breaking
right.
up.
And hello. No, I'm listening. Rena, good evening. You're absolutely right.
Oh,
I'm gonna
Rena's
read that
here.
again.
Love that.
Yes, I'm
But
following you. Boom.
used to, like my dad drove a Chevy, but he drove a Chevy because that's what his dad drove. He had brand trust. I'm gonna buy something with a Briggs and Stratton engine because I trust that brand. I'm gonna buy Levi pants because I trust that brand. We don't
Right.
do brand trust anymore. It's review. Now I'm like, hey Manu, what car did you buy recently? Why do you like it? Why do you hate it? It's a review culture.
Well, but why did the culture shift? Probably because companies don't have as much integrity as they used to, and you can't trust the
No,
brand anymore.
they've always done what was in their own best interest.
But there
Here's
wasn't as much competition. They weren't
well,
as
that's not fair for me to say. There may have been a time in history where leaders valued integrity more than they do now. Okay. So that's to be fair to that statement. What I mean is that we had to be brand trust because we didn't have the ability to gather people's opinion like we do now or hear it
makes
like we
sense.
do now.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And so I think, this has changed the way people process information. And I'm bringing all this up because that's how he defined when the 90s actually began. Which is really interesting. It began when people had access to all this information, but not a way to fact check it. And he says it was around 1992, not 1990. So I haven't finished the rest of the book. All right.
Okay.
And I know we're breaking up a little bit. I don't know if it's my internet or your internet, but I hope it's not negatively impacting our viewers.
Yeah, it's probably my internet, but hopefully it's not happening in the playback.
We'll see.
Yes, let's read Rena's comment.
I got it up here. Even though the data may be reaching everyone, the different age groups have different filters and perspectives that make people internalize the data differently.
1000%.
Yep.
Everybody's unique. 1000%. Your previous influences influence how you take in future influences. Like it is all very nuanced. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Charles says I'm a capitalist. What gave it away?
Oh, I thought, we know. Yeah. I think most of us. Well,
just because I have a copy of Atlas Shrugged right behind me doesn't mean that I'm a capitalist. Got Ayn Rand tattooed on my arm. I'm kidding. I do not.
I don't even know who that is or what.
You don't know who Ayn Rand is? Atlas Shrugged?
I don't. Man, there's just a lot of things that I just don't know. There's that.
Okay. All right. So we're going to get back to should Marvel cards be numbered because there was a lot of comment here in the chats. And it started with Ryan, I think. Ryan said, here it is. That's why we need to get rid of serial numbered cards in Marvel. And I think that was in reference to me saying that Marvel cards should not be treated like sports cards. I believe that's why I said that. And
okay,
interesting thought. So what do numbering cards, what does it do? What does it create?
Artificial scarcity.
Artificial scarcity, number one. But I think more important, it creates the thrill of the hit.
Yes. Well, once you have to create the artificial scarcity, and then that's a secondary effect of it. That's why you create it, you know.
And
Swish,
so
thank you.
now
Or-
so I'm gonna bring a 90s word back into what is oh gosh, okay. You're going to they're talking about Atlas Shrugged. Um, there's no way Joshua read that book. It's literally this thick.
I don't know what he's saying about Joshua with that comment.
I said there's no way Joshua read that book. It's like this thick.
I
I'm
know,
kidding,
but
Joshua. You
yeah,
probably
yeah,
read it. But I'm gonna use a 90s word here.
okay,
Chase.
right.
Chase. Remember when we used to say, what is the chase card?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the hit. That's the
That's the
what you're
hit.
looking for. That's the hit.
And so this, this made the hit very clear, right? And it actually created the ability to create the feeling of a hit with it actually not being rare.
It was rare relative to the base cards.
When you create the parallel aspect and then create numbers on all of them, you then multiply the ability to do it times the number of cards based on that subset and our base set, whatever they parallel and numbered. And so it creates the ability to have the hit experience without the same rarity as an original chase card.
You did lose me because I'm trying to follow. I just want to hear it all again. That's how I process.
Well, it's just that if you have 200 cards that are numbered 1, 10, 25, 50, 75, and 100 times 200, so there's 52,000 of them or 50,200 of them, you create the ability to hit a number card, which gives you that thrill of the chase without it actually being a rare experience.
Why is it not a rare experience?
Well, because you're guaranteed to get them. You're guaranteed one in every box.
Yeah, but you're still chasing a particular. I mean, I like this. I feel like the tables have turned. For some reason, I'm defending the stuff I don't like at the moment.
Well, I'm just saying that you create the ability to have a guaranteed chase hit in every box because it has a number.
Yeah, right. But my whole thing about it is like I just want it to be its own rare card, not a different color of one that has 20 colors and 20 different numbers on. Like it's just not
So
it just feels
I
generic and insincere.
he listened to the whole thing, by the way. That makes more sense, my friend. Here's the thing though. I like number cards because I like transparency. It does a lot of the mental work for me. It just does. And I really appreciate that. I don't have time to really think through, is it rare, is it not rare based on a bunch of other stuff.
But you just said you like it because someone told you it's rare because they put
I'm
a one on
telling
it.
you,
That's like exactly
I'm
what.
telling you, I like it. I just do.
Yeah, you are telling me.
I'm I'm not defending it. I just like it. I genuinely do. If I hit something
Fat
that's
Belly Gengar, I love that.
if I hit something that's not numbered, I've got to stop and look and see, is it this or is it that? And how many packs is this? Like I can do it and it's fine. Like I'm happy to do it. Example, I hit
You're
the
literally the problem, Justin. Literally the problem.
the problem is me, everybody. Well, like I hit the super short print skybox, skybox, shadowbox. Is that right? I think that's right. No, skyscraper shadowbox. That's what I'm trying to say. That card is like 1 in 800, 900 packs. It's 1 in 6.5 cases.
Mhm.
Okay. And I was more happy when I hit a pink numbered out of 75 Spider-Man.
Right.
And there's a number card in every pack. But I like the
Mhm.
fact that it was Spider-Man. I like the fact that I knew there was only 75. The other one was a Spider-Man too. It was Peter Parker Spider-Man. On top of that, like it literally said Peter Parker, which is what I collect. And I enjoyed that hit, but not as much as I enjoyed the number card.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's just an interesting one to me. It might be because I'm the old person looking at the young people thinking, you guys don't know what you're doing. But
Well,
yeah,
so,
no, I
but
yeah.
you have an appreciation based on what you collect for things that are rare because people
I
didn't
love
appreciate
rare.
it.
Yeah, I love rare that's been created over decades of whatever the circumstances were.
Hmm.
I don't appreciate something that someone made and said, "I made one,
Hmm.
it's a one-off." So what? So what? That's my stance. That's my official stance. So what? You know,
So
it's a pretty strong argument if you're willing to think into it.
if you are willing to think into it, but I also think that it would be interesting to go through the Marvel card catalog and identify cards that are numbered and are low numbered and don't have any type of parallel to it. Like
Okay.
example, like I'm looking at the Spider-Man base card here, right? And
Mm-hmm.
this base card, there's thousands and thousands of them.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a 1 of 1, an out of 10, out of 25, out of 50, out of 75, and out of 100, which is really 90. Okay. And the number ones
Mm-hmm.
are expensive, like they just are. And this because people demand it and they want it and they love it and whatever else. But how many Marvel
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
cards are there out there that are low numbered but don't have a parallel at all, that don't have an image, that image again made anywhere else? And there are a few.
Sure. I'm sure there are. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. That to me is
Yeah.
cooler. That to me is cooler.
That'd be a
Um,
that'd be a fun list.
yeah, that would be a fun list. Um, yeah, yeah. That's where I'm at with this. Yes, modern numbered cards. Yeah, I'm gonna see what Masterpieces does because they're gonna
Constantine,
have
like,
parallels. Yeah,
well, we'll talk about masterpieces in a second,
yeah,
but
yeah.
Constantine, you, that's the reason I actually am collecting the out of 62 from the Z Force
Are
because
you gonna read it? I'm gonna read it. I want it to be read.
yeah,
One thing I feel seems generic and insincere is how in Spidey Metal Set the same art was used in all variants. Example, Z-Force Rave 1, 62, 100, a 1 of 1, the same art as the 100. That's not special. Yeah, all they did was change up the foil in the name. It's not special, dude. It's literally just the stamp that people are after. Like, that's it. I'm being cynical, but I'm with you, Constantine. I mean, meaning I can appreciate what you're saying. Absolutely.
so
And more
if
so
you
agree than disagree.
if you've ever collected a rainbow though, where you put together the full rainbow collection, that from a set collector standpoint, that is a lot of fun. Ton of fun.
From yeah, I've heard you guys be really excited about it. Oh, Cards of Metal. What did I do? Are you mad at me? What's up? LOL. No, no, I don't
He
know. Something else has happened.
he was saying he he knows what.
Oh, knows what's up. Oh, very good, my man. Thank you. That means we are actually in
Hmm.
on the same wavelength with this. Excellent. What did Andrew say? A Banffy says, "Hello, good evening." He says, have you guys come across anything that was rare that you could have cared less for in the 90s, but perhaps means a lot more to you today? Um, yeah, yeah, I think appreciation for some things has grown for me, but for me, Andrew, and I think you know this about me very well, for me, it's more so that the things that were common, but still quite expensive because of the way that they were, endorsed in the 90s, and plus you're 9 years old, everything's expensive in high grade are rare now, and that's sort of my pull. I can't really think of an example at the moment of something that was rare then that I didn't care about, but now I care about. I kind of care about the same stuff still, so I don't have a great example of that. If you've got an example, Andrew, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I feel like Andrew does have something, like he's setting up his response, and I would love to hear it. I did not live in a world where I even had access to things that were actually rare. Um, yeah, I just didn't. I mean, I guess we had like a Nintendo, and if I'd have kept that sealed, like maybe that would have been special, but it wouldn't have been rare. Maybe the
Yeah,
fact that it was never open might have been rare, but no, I can't think of anything as a kid that I came across of that was actually rare.
Right, and that's a great example. Like the Nintendo was not rare; it was very common. Most middle class households had a video game console of
Mhm.
some sort, and now it being sealed is basically the perfect condition nostalgia. It's like the perfect warm hug, and that's what it is, and that's what the value is there. And I think it was Cards of Metal. He said, artificial scarcity is still scarcity. That's very true. But what I just described is the difference. Artificial scarcity has no emotion. It has nothing you remember. Something that's scarce for a bunch of different reasons, a bunch of different turbulence over decades, a bunch of challenges, just gives it the edge in terms of special. My opinion
Hmm.
only. Um, but yeah.
You make an interesting point. If something's rare to begin with, then how do people, like, from a mass standpoint, like a mass amount of people, create an emotional tie to it, like a connection to it?
They actually, unless their emotional connection is their desire to get it, and I don't know how they would. I don't know how they would.
Well,
Like,
I'm thinking about like
I think it
art.
was Sin City.
I mean, with art, you see the art, you have some type of emotional reaction to it,
Yeah.
and you're like, hey, look, I get why the Mona Lisa's desired. Like, there's only one, right? Or there's copies of it, but there's only one painting, and I get why it's special. Or A Starry Night, probably a better example.
Oh
I get
yeah.
why people love that. It's got an appeal to a lot of people. There's only one, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that it comes back to competition and collecting, and how that does play a role. And when there's only 10 of something and you can have one of them, like it matters to people, and it's not going to stop mattering.
Yeah. I like that you bring up art. Um, because yeah, if there's an artist you don't know personally, or it's art
Mhm.
that you didn't grow up looking at, but you go to a gallery and you develop an emotional connection because you had an emotional reaction, like that's real, you know? I don't know how a rave one of one will give you that sort of emotional reaction. Like you react to it and it's like, what amazing art. Like if it did that, I'd be like, wow, but it didn't do that. Like very few of the cards. My, anyway,
Oh, I
yeah, I like the
disagree.
art. Oh, which card? Show me the one.
Oh,
Show me your one. Show me your one. I know which
all right.
one it
Yeah,
is. Let's
you
see
know
it.
which one it is. It has amazing art. It's great art.
I know. Let's see it. Let me see. Let me see. I'll be honest with you about my own critical bias and stuff.
You do that. I gotta get to the place where I can pull it up for everybody. But yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan.
And then, um, oh, Andrew said, I didn't have anything in mind, was more curious than anything. I find myself looking at promo pieces now, which I knew were a little more scarce then, but more so now. Original art also. Oh, yeah, promo pieces are interesting. And speaking of that, oh, you're pulling it up. West Coast said something about, yeah, the green jelly cassette for Maximum Carnage. Absolutely. He said, case in point, the Maximum Carnage comic and video game box set was rare then, is still rare now. You know what's interesting about that? There is no box set of the game and comic. That's a box set of the game and book. Hey, um, QVC box set, one made for Nintendo, one made for Sega Genesis. There's no comic book in it. The comic book was never distributed with the video game. It was different, but I know exactly what you mean. Um, I think it's good looking. I think it's good looking. Um, I I mean, my personal opinion is just, it's good looking. It's just it's kind of cheesy. It's kind of cheesy with the silver shiny spider on the side, Scarlet Spider on the side. My personal take on this artwork is that's a bit too on the nose.
And as soon as I saw it, I was like, man, I love that.
I love it. Do you have them all now? There's four of these, I
I
imagine.
I'm missing the 25 out of 25,
Okay.
and prices are still coming down. So, but I was not even like, I wasn't planning on getting a Scarlet Spider card until I saw this rave, and I was like, that might be one of the best looking Spider-Man arts in the whole set.
It is
I
really
just love
sick.
it.
I mean, look how they did his face is dope. His, muscular thing is dope.
Well,
I think,
yeah, the pose, the composition. I love a good hoodie. It's got that on there. I mean, it works for
yeah,
me.
m- literally my thing on it, just from, just being a snobby jerk person. That's why, well, I could do that better. Is just, I
Mhm.
don't like the way it says Scarlet Spider.
Well, and
That's
to your point, that's just the Z-Force brand. That's that's that's
mhm.
a style of Z-Force brand. There's a Strike Force Z-Force that's different, but this particular style of Z-Force is what it was like in the sports card world, and they applied that template onto the Marvel card, and it's a one of one.
Yeah, and please, nobody be mad at me. If you love the card, I love you for loving the card. I'm a supporter of you and what you're passionate for. Brian said,
Oh
I
no,
think
the
for
the
me
chat
personally,
agrees with
I don't
me.
like the use. Yeah, I think they do. Swish said it's awesome. I mean, I'm sure I could find one or two people that agree with me, but yeah, I think the chat
Ooh, I love
overwhelmingly
what
loves the
Brian's
size of
saying
that
here. I
card.
want to talk about it.
Um, yeah, that's what I want to read. What is it?
Yeah, Brian says, I think for me personally, I don't like the use of the
Oh,
word artificial scarcity on something that was made with the original intent of being rare. Buybacks are the artificial scarcity. And he's 1,000%
mhm.
right. You take something that's, somewhat mass printed or mass printed, and you make it rare by stamping a stamp on it. It's actually
Mhm.
it came off the same printer as the mass printed card, and then it's
Yep,
made rare by putting the stamp on it. And so he's a
yep.
I mean, he couldn't be more right about the fact that it'd be an artificial scarcity. But that's actually what I like about it,
Yeah,
because I
there's
like the
nothing
fact that,
different. Yeah, there's nothing.
sorry, we're having a little bit of internet connection, so we're talking at the same time. But what I love about the fact is that it is mass printed, and yet this actually has a way of making something that a lot of people love, a lot of people enjoy, rare. And so I appreciate it. I have an affinity towards it, but I get why some
Yeah,
people would not, because they go, I can get that card. It's just missing the stamp, like it's the same card.
it's the same card. Now, there's no difference between pulling a out of 20 buyback out of a 2019 set than some out of 20 that was made in 2019, except we have an emotional attachment to the card originally from the 90s. If we're 40, we remember it. That's a layer of significance.
It for me it is, in the sense that, okay, I had that card when I was a kid. This card has survived for 25 years. It was put back in the pack. It was made an insert. It was made special. It took something that I already enjoyed and appreciated and added a layer of enjoyment and appreciated on top of that. And so I like having both now. And so
I think it's
that's
fun.
that's me.
Yeah, I think it's fun. I don't always have like the perfect roadmap to get to why I feel a certain way, but sometimes the feeling is the feeling. Buybacks have a certain bit of something there that roots them into the sort of stuff that I love more than something that just came out. And it's that intangible. It's that it previously existed, but yeah, it is obviously artificially scarce.
So
They
while
stamped it and
we
told you it
can't
was
talk
rare
about
because they
number
only stamped it.
no, I'm with you. But we can't talk about number cards and not talk about Marvel Masterpieces. And let me explain why. Marvel Masterpiece is a set that is almost completely built off being a numbered card set. Now, we're not talking about your 90s Marvel Masterpieces. We're talking about modern Marvel Masterpieces, 2016, 18, 2020, and soon to be 2022, 2023, whenever it releases. And the base set of those cards are numbered. So when I say, like, hey, I'm pulling a Spider-Man here, and there's probably thousands of them, in Marvel Masterpieces, the base set is numbered, and the highest number being in the previous three sets is 1,999. And then that base set is tiered. Well, at least depending on what you're referring to, the base set. The base set being not the parallel. The parallel would be the gold foil signature, and then the what ifs, which has a comic book trade dress as part of the art. And so when you start looking at it that way, if you're like tallying up all the numbers of the parallels, it does get to quite a bit of them, but it's still all numbered. That creates some transparency for the whole set. And what then becomes interesting is if you want to complete the checklist, well, only 50 people can do that because the last 9 or 10 cards generally are only printed to 50, 1 to 50. And so for those who are like want to collect the full set, it makes chasing those higher tiers, tier 4s, it makes them pretty expensive.
That makes sense.
Is it your internet or my internet? I need to figure it out.
I think it's mine, to be honest, and I hope to have it resolved by next week.
Okay, good. Very good. Well, Brian says only around 16,000 boxes are published or pushed with Marvel Masterpieces. Now, we don't know what the new set is going to have its print run, but you would hope that they're going to keep the same structure as the previous 3 sets, and also know that if they do keep the same structure as the previous 3 sets, it's going to make it really expensive really quickly.
I'm sort of prepared for it.
I'm not.
Just because I want a box.
Oh, Eddie says, by the way, we're both
you want to buy 50 cases. I want 1 box.
Well,
actually,
really, I mean,
that's really good.
I mean, I would love to have like 6 cases of it, to be honest with you. Like, that's what I would like. But 6 cases, I mean, I don't know what the entry level price is going to be, but I don't think it's going to be less than $300 like day one.
Yeah. I'm just excited about it because I have an emotional connection with Masterpieces. I don't like the way that the sets are. I don't like just even hearing you or anyone explain to me how the sets are designed and how many there are. I'm already like, you guys shouldn't have let this happen.
Should be more.
No, it should be, but it's like it just, even the way you explain, like, you cannot explain that to anyone without them saying, say that 10 more times. Like, if someone just stepped into Marvel cards and you were going to explain to them how the sets are designed, what the collectability of it is, how many of what exists, they're going to be like, you made that up. That's absolutely ridiculous. But the card folks are in it. They're coming from sports cards. They're used to it. They're used to everything the companies have designed to sell more stuff, and they're eating it up. The market's been great. It's been liquid. That might not be the case going forward. I don't know.
It took me a minute to wrap my head around modern Marvel Masterpieces, and I bought anyways. I was buying. I didn't have a clue.
No, West Coast, I did not say I want 50 cases. I just want a couple of boxes because the Masterpieces brand has a hold on me. Like, it's just me being a consumer, which I try not to do, but hopefully something fun comes out of it so that it could be, not a complete waste of my time and money. But I said Justin would probably want to buy several cases because Justin likes to open a bunch of boxes. It's what he does.
I love to open boxes. I can't wait. I have boxes of Into the Spider-Verse here. I'm being a little bit reserved with those because it's all I've got, and I want to have stuff to open on Saturday mornings. But man, I'm itching for a box of Fleer Ultra or a box of Marvel Allure or a box of Beginnings that I have pre-ordered. I'm itching to order some Marvel Masterpieces, and I'm actively trying to talk myself into not buying enough boxes to do the 12 breaks of Christmas. Like, I want to do that too. But have you bought 12 boxes of Marvel cards lately? It adds up so quick because it's not $100 a box. It's $2, $4, $8, $1,000 a box. Dude, I'm not hearing anything you're saying.
Oh no. Okay, look. Okay. Care. Let me come right back.
Okay, you do that. You do that real quick. Joshua, what are you getting tired about? 2016 is the best. I mean, I think it depends on what you mean by the best. Like, you mean the most valuable cards? Yeah, 2016 has the most valuable cards. I would think that 1996 is probably the best art. So I don't, 92, maybe right there with it, maybe even better than 92. Yeah, that last freeze, that was pretty cool. Wish I would have loved, screenshot that one, but I can go back and get the replay on it. Cracking packs and chasing inserts is gambling. Of course, it's a form of gambling. That's what makes it fun. If it was guaranteed, it wouldn't be fun. Anything that's not guaranteed is risky. Anything that's risky is gambling. Oh, all they see is Manu's face. I guess you're seeing something that I'm not seeing. That's interesting. All I see is my face here. Somebody please screenshot whatever it is you're seeing and send it to me. For someone who doesn't collect much, but I want to get into the game, where would you direct them and why? Eddie, here's where I would direct you. I actually have a video on how to collect Marvel cards that I did with the Marvel card expert, Norn Sketch Card Hive, Fausto, and he's the CGC Marvel card expert. It's on the channel. You can search for it, how to collect Marvel cards. Or if you message me on Instagram, I can share that with you. And that's probably where I would start. I give some direction in that video. Everybody's back.
Am I though?
Kind of.
Here's what I will say. I can't wait to see what the screen was frozen on, because all I see these comments saying that my
I know. I
face
got to
was
see it too.
hilarious when it was frozen.
I got to see it too.
Oh my
Well, look,
gosh.
man. Let's wrap it up. You got anything else that you would like to add to the hobby conversation for the evening?
I actually would like to add a lot, but I think I'm being prohibited by my internet connection, and I don't think it would do the conversation justice. And if we have to continue next week, I'm not going to run out of things to say by next week.
Well, how about this? I'll commit as much as I can commit to anything that we'll do the hobby collecting future conversation part deuce next week here on the channel, same time, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where Manu is. And look, yeah, we'll continue it. We didn't talk about breaking or breakers. We didn't talk about whatnot. We didn't talk about probably a lot of different things. But we'll and then we didn't even talk about comic books specifically that much. So we got a lot that we can talk about.
Yeah, we only went through a third of the hobby conversation, if that.
Yeah. Yep. Let's do it. Well, hey, everybody, thank you for hanging out tonight, for chatting with us. It's a great conversation to be in with you all. Really do appreciate it. If you don't mind, if you're new to the channel and you like this kind of content, hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, please hit the like button. Leave me a comment down below. You know how to find Manu. He's on Instagram at the 9.9 Newsstand. You can find me there as well. Also have a Discord channel. If you're not there and you want to be there, hit me up on Instagram. I'll tell you all about it. But man, appreciate you all. And as always, hope you have a marvelous day.